They refused on breaking
Did you sign in? You're just waiting. Are you the last one? There's nobody behind you?
Nobody behind me.
Okay, I would like to call this meeting to order. Please rise and pledge the flag. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can you please take roll call?
Mr. Billcliff? Here. Ms. Cook? Ms. Falcone? Here. Ms. Kunkle?
Here.
Ms. Lorah?
Here.
Mr. Polinsky?
Here.
Mr. Stoudt?
Here.
And Mrs. Stoudt?
Here.
Just for the audience, the meeting is being recorded by video and for minutes.
Thank you. Okay, we're gonna waiver from our agenda as we already have since it's a little late. We were in an executive session that ran a little bit over. Kathy Hassler, are you here today? Wait, Kathy Hassler.
Put your stuff down. This is a thank you to Kathy because she's such a great volunteer at our park and she does what no one else steps up to do. Thank you for all you do for us.
For anybody here who has no idea what Kathy does in the park, Kathy, how many times do you go over there to clean those bathrooms and pick up the trash in the park, Kathy? How many times a day?
It's only once a day.
It's only once a day? Kathy gets up bright and early in the morning in the summertime and would clean the bathrooms and also report on anything out of order very diligently. So thank you, Kathy.
I don't know.
Alrighty then, so getting back to the agenda, we have interviews of candidates for tax collector. Should I just go down? Okay, we have 5 applicants, 4 of which are here tonight. Steve Klein could not be here because he got mandatory overtime at work. So, what do we do? We're not gonna do them all at once, are we? Should I
Call the applicant's name.
Okay. I have them. It's Carol Eisenhard, Carol Eisenhard, Helen Tamara Osley, Virginia Ginger Chalmers, and Tom Billcliff. Do we want them to all come and sit up there? Or stand?
I guess, because there aren't enough chairs.
Yeah. Whatever. Just stand where they're at? Okay, does anybody want to begin the questions we have for the applicants? Does anybody have any questions? Really?
Who wants to go first? I guess she wants to say.
I will. Okay.
So, our last tax collector, one of the issues was that she did not have time for sitting hours. What's everyone's availability for that?
Or rather,
How do you want to do this?
or rather, do you know that your hours will be set by council, will set your hours and they cannot waiver. Those are when you have to see people to come and pay.
Okay, so what would those hours be?
Yeah.
We have not, that has
been
not,
given that information?
No, we have not determined that yet.
Okay.
It might likely be a couple of evenings during the week and a Saturday morning.
It would have to be a couple of evenings during the week, and not necessarily every Saturday morning, but most likely at least 2 Saturdays a month. and let me see, I have things written down here. Especially when the bills, the tax bills are due. So, June 28th and 30th would be like a definite days because they're due July 1st.
Right, especially the end of the discount period and the property period would be most likely when.
So I'll go first. So I'm a mother of 4 children, all in the district, here in Brandywine. So I do have Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts. I'm the service unit manager for Girl Scouts. So Saturdays aren't an issue. Some evenings aren't gonna be an issue, but, I would need to know what the set schedule would be before it could start, to be able to say, yeah, I'll be available, no, I wouldn't be. I do work a full-time job and I'm an accountant for Scandinavian Tobacco Company, so, but I work from home, so I've got flexibility there.
Do you work 5 days? Is it 5 days?
I do work 5 days a week.
Any weekends at all?
I don't work
Saturdays at
any
all?
weekends,
No
no.
weekends?
I don't, in my current job, no.
Right.
And, in my, what I would call my full-time job, no. Work weekends wouldn't be an issue to do for a tax collector for me.
Do you have, set hours even though you work at home?
No,
You don't have set hours?
no, I mean, I'm usually typically an 8 to 5, but I kind of do as I need to do in my job, so. I actually do excise tax for them, so, for tobacco tax. So I am well versed in taxes.
So while we're on this question, we might as well ask all the candidates the same question.
What was your name?
I'm Helen.
Helen, thank you.
Go ahead, Carol.
Okay, I'm Carol. I've lived in the borough more years than I would like to say. I graduated from Brandywine in 1968. I'm retired, I think, because I also took on a part-time job in the school district. So I do have my clearances with the school district. I am thinking about giving it up. I only have 1 more year before I have to certify and get the state police clearances. So Saturdays would be the only thing. I wouldn't want to work every Saturday, but if it's during the tax season, I had looked over the schedule of Nancy's and who was the other person? Sue Davis. And really wasn't a lot of Saturdays, only during tax season, which, you know, is expected to, you know, sit and collect money.
Right, like we said, it would probably be 2 Saturdays a month, and right, it's,
Yeah.
Let me see, it would have been
I think
March, April, and June.
right. And it was like for an hour and a half, 2 hours,
A couple
whatever.
hours.
Yeah, whatever
Correct.
you decide to make that.
Ginger?
Hi, Ginger Chalmers, and I've lived here in the borough since 2006. I do have a brick and mortar location. I have a little shop right in town, so there's built-in hours there and availability for people to come in, and I work there all the time, so Saturdays aren't a problem.
Saturdays what?
Saturdays are not a
Or
problem.
not a problem?
No.
I have no problem with that. I mean, I know there was frustrations before with not being available in the month of the discount. I know a lot of people want to pay at the discount, they want to pay the last day of the discount. So, I mean, I have no problem with that, with working what hours council would set forth, just as long as I know in advance what they are, so I can. I'm sure the hours are flexible. If you say a Saturday, it's flexible on a Saturday, or at night it could be flexible 5 to 7 or 7 to 9 or whatever.
Right, and one thing we would have to stress is once the hours would be set and published on the bill, they cannot, those are the hours that we would have to be there.
I have a question. Would you be discussing this with the tax collector that you do decide to take on, as far as approve the dates, or?
Tonight is when we're setting everything, is when we're going to choose a
Oh,
tax
okay.
collector, and because today's the 12th, I think it's
Uh-huh.
the 15th or the 13th that they have to have, 15th, that they have to have ours to be printed on the bills, so
Okay.
it's all gonna be done.
Okay, that's fine.
Does anyone else have anything?
And you could all do hours by appointment, if somebody need to be accommodated for that?
Yes, and also the handicapped accessibility.
And actually, we had said before, sitting hours would be here, yes,
Oh, they will be in here.
yes,
Sitting hours would be
it'd
here.
be here,
Yeah, we decided to.
yeah, this is where all the work will be done,
Evenings and weekends?
everything.
Okay.
You would have access to the building, into this room.
That was one of my questions, whether you had to have an office strictly for that. But if it's gonna be done here, that answers my question.
And you also get a free post office box, but it would be your telephone that you would use, your telephone number. Was it, it's not free? I thought it was.
No, I
You
think,
gotta pay?
Yeah.
Did
Chose
she?
to do that, yeah.
Okay,
yeah, I think it's $46 for 6 months. And that's with 2
I
keys,
don't need the cost.
and with 2 keys, I think it is.
I feel a post office box is the
Oh,
best
more
thing to do,
secure.
so that it doesn't commingle with your own mail, get stuck in a magazine. And then just
That was
post
for the
office
smallest
box.
box.
Like,
And one thing stressed, there are no this is not a drop off box, nothing gets dropped off here, it's all through that post office box.
Yeah, this says Sue Davis got a PO box at her house.
Was it her cost? Is that her?
And all storage would be at your area as well, nothing is stored here.
This is strictly for hours.
Now, what was the income for the job? Do you have that handy, what we paid her, was it 12 or whatever it was?
It's a percentage of
Yeah.
And that's based on
the taxes.
what's collected.
And then the school district and the county also have income. The school district is $1.65 per bill. The county is $1.75 per bill.
How many bills do we send? 900.
So,
Well, that's just us, but then you have the for the school tax.
Nicole,
You can ask Nicole how many she sends out.
Yeah, so just shy of 800, and then you'll have some variance with interims and whatnot, but around 800.
do you have anything that you'd like to say, add, ask?
Not at this time.
No? Do you have something, is that where you're?
No.
The only questions I had about it, the only issue that there was with the previous tax collector was availability hours. Yeah, I mean,
Does anyone have a time frame they're looking to do this for? Like a certain, like just for a year? Is this something you would like to do forever?
I thought it was a 4-year.
Well, the first one would be a year, then you'd have to run for it, and then it is a 4-year seat. But I guess the question is, I mean, Nancy did it forever. I don't think we're really looking for somebody who's going to do it for just 1 year. I think we're hoping to have somebody who's gonna wanna do it for a long period of time. And is capable of doing it for a long period of time. You'd have to be elected, obviously.
Right, I think that's kind of your caveat there.
But, I mean,
You want
but
to,
the
do
intent
it
is,
forever, you need to be elected every year.
Right, but is
So every 4
that,
years.
so are we, are the nods, yes, that's what your hope would be to
to
continue
continue.
beyond the,
It really was gonna depend on how it went for me. I mean, like I said, I have, my oldest is only in 7th grade, my youngest is in kindergarten, so it's all gonna depend on how the chips fall. If I find every Saturday or especially if you guys are setting the hours, and the hours are gonna be set like that for the rest of, for maybe a year. After that, you can determine your own hours as long as you've proven it. But if you're saying after this, you're setting the hours, that may end up not working.
we set the hours, and that was the reason that Sue Davis had to resign, because the community would have liked to have more hours, different hours than she gave, and she could not do that, so that's,
It's understandable.
and everybody knows that you have to be bonded for this position.
Now, do you take care of the bonding? Do you go through a company that does that?
The county does that. Berks County.
So they have like a group and everybody gets.
Correct. And Berks County does some training on their software. They arrange for the class where you have to get the certificate.
Yeah, I don't see a problem with that on my end, receiving that kind of stuff with my history, so.
And this job uses a particular software program that just changed, is that correct?
So the county has one, we just use Excel, and I'm sure the school district
Yes.
has a different one than the
Yeah.
county.
So all the school districts in the county are required to use, it's called e-tax tracks, but it's a different software. But we would train whoever the next tax collector is.
So, computer, I'm assuming it's needed, provided, not provided?
Not provided.
Ginger, knowing that sitting hours would be here, would that be a problem for you?
What are exactly the hours?
They're not set yet.
Okay, like I have my shop open 10 to, my posted hours are 10 to 4 Monday through Thursday, although I'm there all the time, but.
Evening hours.
So it's just evening.
During the week, it's evening hours.
Okay, it's just evening hours.
And
then
Saturday.
And Saturday would be hours.
Yeah, that's fine.
Does anyone else have any questions, any comments? Any applicants have any questions, comments? Okay, so. Okay, so all of them.
Tom and the applicant, 4 applicants, would you mind standing out in the hall and we'll close the door? The community may stay.
Stacy, would you stop the recording?
Oh, gosh. Well,
No,
this is
that's.
still a public meeting.
Yeah,
right.
This isn't an executive session.
Yeah.
They're chatting, they can't hear you.
Okay.
I don't have a problem with any of them, I suppose, so I don't know.
They're all great.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say Steve has a lot on his plate already.
Oh, yes,
You know what I mean?
he just verified.
Yeah.
Better, correct, he's better with
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That has nothing to do with.
No.
He'd still be
Yeah.
worthwhile.
Right.
Okay, there is one thing about Tom, and that is I'm looking at eligibility and incompatible offices. It says that, right, no individual may hold more than one elective borough office at the same time, so he would have to resign, yes.
So I think he understood that.
He knew that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So-
okay, I just wanna make sure.
He actually said, he was considering running in the next election.
Okay.
I'd say he's the most intimate with the issues that we've been having,
Uh-huh.
you know what I mean?
He's also
Or-
very well qualified.
Yeah, he is. Well, that's, I guess I'm kind of trying to figure out beyond qualifications, because I don't see somebody here who I'd say you're not qualified.
No,
You know what I
no.
mean? So Tom's a little bit more accustomed to it, puts us in a weird spot without a mayor, but.
Well, I also,
But he was planning on not being there anyway.
right, and he was planning on doing it for the long haul, and I think, Helen was also good, but she also said, I see how this goes.
She was
you know.
concerned.
But yeah, and that's completely.
Having several kids in a full-time job, it would be hard to do.
Yeah.
But we saw that the last week. So
Right.
That's something of a concern. Okay, so we're down to 3.
Do we gotta make a decision?
I would. Do we do this? Oh, I can't. Do we do it as a motion, is that what
You would do it as a motion, but I would bring them back to do the actual motion. I would just, have the discussion here, but I do the.
But it is a motion,
It would be done by motion.
So we have a meeting.
I would say, I've known Carol for years, and she's very conscientious, she's very detail oriented, and I think that She would do an excellent job. She's nearing retirement. She just said she's not gonna be working a job she currently has much longer, which is with the school district. So I would put a plug in for her, just because I think we'd get quality service out of her. And she's a very committed person. Same with Ginger, I've known Ginger for years. Again, these are all qualified people.
My vote is, my vote, my say is for Tom, because he knows what he would be getting into, and he's very well qualified as far as what he does.
I kind of say the same thing, because just because he has mentioned it in the past,
Yeah,
that he's
he-
interested
right.
in the tax collector position, he was
Yeah.
thinking about it, he might run next time.
And knows, he knows what's expected.
Yeah,
And there's really no, you know, I don't have any reason to say anything bad about anybody else, so.
Right.
No.
The other, right.
I don't think we'd be wrong, but I agree, I think Tom will do it.
Although we can only do it for 1 year unless he decides to not be mayor.
Well, no, he has
No,
to
he has to
leave.
resign.
He'd have to
He has to
resign.
resign.
Resign as mayor, period.
Well, here's a question, if we went down that way, how do we get a new mayor?
Same way.
Same way this, then he would serve until January, right, the person will serve until the next, after the next municipal election. And then someone would have to run.
I figured it was the same cost.
Right, until the next municipal election,
He would be tax
municipal election, right, no, he would resign. The person who became mayor, was appointed to become mayor, would serve until the January after the next municipal election.
right, he would be mayor to the end of this year.
Right. How long do we have to replace the mayor?
30 days. With vacancies, you have 30 days,
Okay.
and then it goes to a vacancy board.
Okay, I wasn't sure if it was the same for mayor or
What
not.
do you say?
Which we don't have here, so that
Right.
just kind of
Right,
skips that
so,
step.
so hopefully you can appoint someone within 30
So
days.
hopefully we get time
January.
If it
Okay,
comes to that.
so if we wanna pull them back in,
Is that, we're all in agreement, or?
I don't wanna lose Tom as a mayor, so I don't think I'm.
I don't want to, but it sounds like
But
we
we're
might
gonna lose him
anyway,
either way.
yeah.
Right.
In a year,
Well,
I feel like
Then he could run for tax
then you
collector.
could run for it. So
That's true.
I'm not gonna,
Personally, I'd rather keep him as mayor for this year
Year's
and let the chips fall with the voters in a year.
I don't like the back and forth.
that's the way it would be anyway.
What do you mean?
If Tom would run for mayor, I mean, it's gonna go to anybody anyway.
Mayor, you mean, right, and with the tax collector though,
Well, they'll
Putting
be
him
off,
off.
they'll be off sync, wouldn't they?
to the next election, I don't like to have one now and not, and then have to do a new one again.
Right.
Yeah, I don't like that. That's just my.
It's a constant,
Right.
it's a constant.
I mean, either way, it's fine with me.
Yeah, that's.
Cause I think Tom just started his. didn't he?
Yeah, but it doesn't, it just go to the, whenever the election is.
Whenever there's a vacancy.
No, I mean, if
there's
he
a vacancy.
didn't, if he didn't become the tax collector now, the tax collector will come up again next year, but the mayor would not come up until 2 years after that, so.
So if he runs for tax collector, it will be up anyway.
Yeah, chapter is on,
Yeah.
that's on me, so I guess. I'm fine either way, I guess. I don't know.
It's nice to have a bunch.
Yeah, it's a good problem.
We wanna bring him back in?
Is that a yes?
All right, so now we're ready to have a motion for the appointment of a new tax collector.
I make a motion for Mayor Silva. For the next tax collector.
I make a motion for Carol.
We have to finish
Finish
it.
that one?
Okay. Okay, so there's a motion and a second for Tom. All those in favor?
Alright,
Anyone opposed?
No.
One,
Did someone else say it?
two. So it's 5 and 2.
Nothing personal, Tom. If someone loses you, then
So we have now appointed Tom Bilcliff as the new tax collector, which
Means that, before you take the position of tax collector, a tax collector cannot hold more, you can't hold more than one elected borough office at the same time.
Where was that?
So that's just an automatic thing then?
Well, I have
Well,
to
no, you have to
officially.
resign, but yeah,
I'll get a letter.
Just wait, okay.
yeah.
All right.
Get a letter by the next meeting, yeah.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Thank
Yes, thank you, everyone. Yeah.
You're welcome.
do any of you want to run for
And
mayor?
if I
Yeah,
could,
yeah, yeah.
tell them out there, if I would get it, then
Or-
I'd be a mayor position.
There really wasn't an unqualified.
It was a tough
person.
one.
Right,
Yeah.
and I think anybody was
We're all
qualified to do it.
overqualified. It's hard.
Thank you.
Okay, has everyone had a chance to look at the minutes that were in your packets? Yeah. So let's go each one individually. We'll begin with April 11th.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from April 11th, 2022.
I'll second. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? April 11th is approved.
Motion to approve the minutes from May 9th, 2022.
They're not available, neither are the June 13th. I will have them available for the next council meeting. My apologies.
June 17th.
I'll make a motion.
It should be the actual 16th. We apologize for the incorrect, that's a typo on the agenda.
June 16th.
Correct.
Minutes.
And also with an amendment that I was present, I was missed there.
On what date, the 16th?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from June 16th, 2022.
I'll second.
The amendment. Okay.
Any questions? All those in favor for this approving the 16th?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Make a motion to approve the minutes from October 10th, 2022.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Make a motion to approve the minutes from November 14th, 2022.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
And I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from November 28th, 2022.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Communications, did everybody see the, speaking of which? Well, just wait.
Are we going to do these in hours that was going to be set tonight?
That's right.
So we have to go back.
Okay, communications, we don't have to, let's just finish that. We have no other communications. Okay,
What's the timeline?
we're gonna move it to,
Okay, very well.
what are you talking about? Oh, you mean in your packet? Where do you see that? In your packet, yeah, we're gonna wait.
Okay.
All right, the thing that we didn't discuss were, we have to set the hours. What I will say is that Nancy did Mondays, which wouldn't, I would say it wouldn't be a good idea because of meetings in here. Maybe every Wednesday, every other Monday, and then 2 Saturdays a month. And June 24th and June 30th are a must.
How about April 29th? Being a must because that's the end of the discount period.
That's fine.
What did you say on the Monday, every
Yeah.
other?
I said if it would be Mondays, it would have to be like the first and,
Third.
right, it would be opposite of what we have. If it's gonna be Monday, like Monday and Wednesday, or Monday, Wednesday, or Monday and Thursday.
I have a lot of Monday holidays.
That's why I said, I actually have it, I have no Mondays.
Okay.
Do you think we need 2 nights during the week plus Saturday?
Isn't that what was requested?
I don't know.
Well, cause
I haven't heard
it was
specific
only one
requests.
Saturday a month.
Yeah, I never heard specific days requested, just that it wasn't enough.
I just, 2 days a week
I
would be plenty, I
Can
would,
I say my piece?
yeah.
I would prefer,
Yeah, we didn't resign yet, so you're.
I think March, 2 days a week. I mean, 2 days, one,
1 week and Saturday.
one alternate Saturday during the week, Saturday during the week. But then April is when you really should, because people, they seem to pay in April. I talked to another tax collector from a local municipality, and they said April and June is when, at the end of June is when she has a lot of people waiting in line.
Okay, what I will say is he's offering more hours instead of less, so maybe we should just listen to what he's saying. So,
And if you're going by feedback for this, not for yourself, so.
No, and I would prefer Saturday afternoons rather than Saturday mornings, because I'm a fisherman. April's my big fishing season. I still do Saturdays, but I'm sure people can make it Saturday.
okay, March and April are the discount,
Correct,
are the discount months.
correct,
So that's why she said about April 29th.
correct.
That is a Saturday, and this is only for 23. So that is a must, and June 24th is a Saturday, the last day of the flat period.
Yep.
So that's a must. So, what are you suggesting, just one day during the week, like Wednesdays?
Wednesdays is fine.
And the hours,
6 to 8.
Wednesdays, 6 to 8. Okay, so for March, are you saying, and as far as Saturdays go, we said 2 Saturdays a month.
Okay, I mean,
With the second and fourth Saturday, that would have been big.
That's what I was thinking.
Fourth is the important.
Right, so you might as well make it second and fourth.
Second and fourth Saturday from, 6 to 8, second and fourth Saturday. The hours is 11 to 1, no?
2 to 4.
Is everyone else agree 2 to 4 is a good time?
And for which ones?
First, any Saturday I come in would
Period.
do 2 to 4.
Period.
Is there any way you could maybe do one Saturday earlier hours in case someone can't do that, if they're going away?
There are also by appointment.
Yeah, or I will publish my cell phone number, and we'll also be open, I'll be open at night during the week too, I mean, so.
Right, by appointment, you mean by saying that, correct? Yeah.
Okay,
it
so the
says,
set
can you meet me
hours,
as a borough tonight,
Right,
as long as I can make it, I don't have a problem with that,
so would you use the post office box?
most definitely.
Post office box and your cell phone number, and your
Correct.
number.
Correct,
And Wednesdays from 6 to 8, and the second and fourth Saturday from 2 to 4, and appointments by available.
right. What'd you say, Michelle?
And available by appointment.
okay, can you just go over the dates the dates then, so I have them all written down here?
Well, we have to fit this on a bill, so.
Okay.
Okay, so it would be,
So we're gonna do second and fourth Saturday, is that what you're saying?
yes,
Okay.
in March, March, April,
March, April.
May, and June. It's March, April, May, and June.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that April 29th and June 24th are the fourth Saturdays anyway. So those are a must, because it's the last day in the,
No,
no?
April 29th is the fifth Saturday.
Interesting.
You just gave yourself 2 more hours of work.
Yes, then that's what you would do.
Well, then you just put second and fourth Saturday, plus if we can get it on
Right.
4/29.
Put a stamp on it.
Okay.
Or maybe it has to go to Harrisburg first.
Because this is what's gonna, this is gonna have to be in a motion.
The 29th of April is the last day of the discount, is that right?
Yes.
Correct.
So that's important.
Yep,
Okay, everybody good with that, have that? This has to be put,
And then and then if anything, the tax bill for the second half, are we doing that now, or is that coming later? Second half, so.
That's done later because that gets us in the second half.
Okay, I didn't know if we had to do it now or not. We get two tax bills.
Right, the ones the school tax and the.
Yeah.
We're only setting the hours for the borough
Right.
real estate tax bills.
Okay, I'll put it on the other one too.
You'll have
They
to-
do, but I can talk to school.
Okay.
I mean, that's, if they would control that a little more, make sure, go over with the school on what they thought.
Nicole.
Did she leave?
yeah,
Okay. Okay, good.
okay,
So we make a motion to approve those hours? Huh.
because that has to be given to the county to put on the bills.
Wednesday evening, 6 to 8, second to fourth Saturday, 2 to 4, also April 29th. Is that correct?
And
Has to say March through April.
Oh, and by appointment,
March and June.
and by appointment by request.
Saturdays 2 to 4.
I had said that.
Not me.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. I have my order, and appointment by request. Did I hit it all?
No.
What did I miss?
June.
What did I miss? Huh? June 24th is the last Saturday.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the total.
Second is 4.
For what months are these?
March, April, May, June.
Oh, that's what I missed. Okay, for the month of March, April, May, and June. Wednesday evenings, 6 to 8. Second and fourth Saturday, 2 to 4. Also, April 29th, 2 to 4, and appointments by request.
A second.
Any questions? All those in favor? Anyone opposed? You got it? Okay, continuing on. Mayor's report.
Nothing to report.
Except that you're leaving them.
Yeah, really.
Well,
No more emergency.
I want to thank you for putting up with me for 17 years. I've really enjoyed it. I really have. But I'm not going away. I'll
Obviously.
still be very visible at all the community events and whatnot. I'm not moving out anywhere, so you're still stuck with me. But
You'll be missed.
thanks.
Yeah.
And now we need to start looking for someone to replace me. Start thinking.
Chief.
Evening, thank you. Police report for November for Topton Borough. 777 patrol miles, 81 patrol hours. We handled 16 incidents, 13 traffic citations. We completed a total of 15 hours worth of traffic checks, 5 hours of paperwork, 14 traffic stops. My CI handled 9 hours of follow-up and investigation and 2 hours of court time. Citation breakdown, speeding 4, these are traffic control devices 2, inspection 2, registration 3, and parking 2. Personnel, approval was given to hire an additional full-time officer for January. That officer was named tonight. His name is Jonathan Troyer. He's currently working part-time for me. He will be moving into a full-time slot January 1 and going to the midnight shift. Officer Thomas Folk has been promoted to sergeant. They made that official tonight at tonight's meeting. And Officer Mike Quinn has been promoted to corporal. Equipment, finally our new body cams are in and working, and we're now using them. I think we got all the bugs worked out of them. So that's been a year worth of a project, so it's finally done. And I'm currently looking for a new cruiser. The way it's looking, we'll be walking or riding bicycles because you can't seem to find them anywhere. So I keep telling my guys that, but
You have bicycles, don't you?
We have one, that's what I keep threatening them with. So it may take a while to get to Topton, but eventually it'll be here, and it'll be all right, so. Now, well, I'm confident I'll find one, but the market for police vehicles is probably the worst that I've ever seen in my career. Just can't find them. They're telling me spring maybe. Most vehicles are a year out if you order them, so. But I'll find one. I thought I had my hand on one, and it was sold from underneath me, so the search continues. That's all I have. Anybody have any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, hearing of visitors. I was gonna say, I was looking for her, is there a representative from the library here? In our packets, we have a letter from the library. Do you want to read it? Do you want to paraphrase it? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Thank you for your continued support of the Brandywine Community Library. We understand the budget challenges and decisions you are facing. We also continue to have expenses rise with decreasing funding. As a board, we're already making hard decisions for our 2023 budget and continue to look for more fundraisers and grant opportunities to maintain and expand our library program offerings. Hearing of a proposed cut means we will have to consider cutting our programs. We hope to continue to work alongside of you with these challenges. We ask that you continue to the level of funding you've been providing the library so we can continue to support the Topton community. The summer program participants from Topton totaled 91, with an additional 255 from other townships. We recently provided a free concert through our partnerships, attended events, and provided educational programs directly to our community. The library is more than just books. It's an endless supply of learning resources and programs. It is a pillar of community connection and support for our community. We also had some patrons comment how much the library meant to them and what, so that was included in your packet as well. And we have this as part of a record for the meeting minutes.
Is there anything else you want to, you have to add to this?
Do you have anything?
No.
If I can. My name is Amber Hadley. I'm the Youth Services Coordinator at the Brandywine Community Library. I apologize for being late to the meeting. I was at the library with 9 of your teenagers hanging out tonight. I'm asking you not to cut our funding. With the pool being closed this past summer, I tripled my programming. I had over 112 different opportunities for your youth to come into the library and have something to do and have a safe place to be. So I am just asking that you remember that and remember that a lot of this is for them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Christine Modest, will the draft ordinance that was brought up at the November 14th meeting be discussed? It looks under the solicitor, maybe, about snow removal on sidewalks and grass and alleys.
Yes, that's under my agenda, and we will be discussing it as to whether or not to advertise or make further revisions.
Can I ask a question then, or should I ask it now?
You can ask it now, it's fine.
I'm thinking, for instance, of the alley behind my house, where there's really no room to clear.
There wouldn't be any reason under the ordinance. The ordinance wouldn't require the clearing of a path in an alley. It's just where a sidewalk would be. If there's a sidewalk if it's an area where, first of all, the sidewalk has to be cleared, and if there's an area where a sidewalk would be in the right of way, that would have to be cleared as well, but not alleys.
Okay, because in the November 14th minutes, it talks about alleys.
Right, no, it's not
And then the other thing is shoveling grass. Like, I don't have sidewalks. My neighbors a lot don't have sidewalks. So you want us to shovel the grass?
Shovel just a path where a sidewalk would be in that right of way next to the curb.
So instead of walking the street, it's a continuation of the sidewalk area. It has to be cleared. That is what the ordinance is pertaining to.
Right. Kenhurst and Laurelville have similar ordinances.
Okay. I liked in the minutes where 2 of the members talked about how it was safer to walk in the street than on some of these sidewalks. I'm a walker, and
if I listed all the sidewalks that have raised parts, cracked parts, versus all the beautiful sidewalks in town, it would be percentage-wise much more dangerous to walk on sidewalks than to walk in the street. So that's just my 2 cents.
And there are issues we have to address moving forward to get sidewalks to be safer than our area.
Sidewalks are tough though, because that is at the residents' expense, not the borough. So,
Yes, we
unfortunately.
know that.
Yeah.
So this is an alternative safety measure to take instead of making people put sidewalks in.
Right.
It's just to keep them clear for pedestrians to walk, mail carriers, kids going to school, etc. Instead of having to go
in
in
the
the street.
winter is what you're thinking.
Correct, that's what it is, just clearing the snow and ice, that's what it's.
So we're not talking about making installation of sidewalks.
That is not what this is, that is not what this is.
Right. Alternative to that at the moment.
I'm all in favor of this then.
Thank you. Anyone else? Go ahead.
I have a couple of questions on my budget.
Did you sign in?
Yeah. Did you see my name? So the first question is, I'm worried about the salary for the maintenance crew. And, there's just a lump sum, in the budget that covers everyone. Is there a breakdown, that you can give me on what, like hourly or?
Do we get that?
Yeah, it's public information, sure.
Sure.
Do you have
What do we
it
have
now? or-
Well, I mean, right, you haven't adopted the budget as of
I
yet.
mean, when you figured out the budget, did you start with an hourly rate and then multiply that by? I mean, I would assume that's the way it would work, I guess.
Current rate by a percentage.
Okay, so what, then, there's a raise here, what's the percentage then? So it's in other words, it was an across the board?
No,
Oh, so it merit raises?
more or less.
It was percentage, it was.
Well, no, if it's a percentage,
It's a percentage, but not everyone got the same.
so not everybody has a percentage.
Correct.
What is the percentage then?
Well, it's still proposed.
Right, the budget has.
You're gonna vote on it tonight, right?
Yes.
So what is it?
For,
For the
I thought-
public works guys?
I understand.
I thought that wasn't public.
Well, I mean, you just said it was across the board, except maybe,
Individual salaries, public employees are public information. I mean, what is in the budget, I mean, whatever would have been produced, if there had been a request to look at the budget, you can give now.
Jesse got 2%, everybody else got 3%.
I'm sorry.
I said Jesse got 2%, everybody else got 3%.
okay, that's what I want to know. Now, as far as, I saw in, I guess a draft, the first draft of the budget, and, that was more, those numbers were higher than what these numbers were.
Correct.
Okay, so what was that the same type of thing? What percentage was originally proposed?
Not a percentage, not a percentage.
Not a percentage,
Correct.
okay. So if I could ask maybe, the council people, if they could maybe give me an insight on why it changed from the proposed to what you're going to vote on tonight. I mean, if you could give me your insights on.
I'll tell you personally, Stacy had some raises a little too high for what I felt we could afford.
Some were too high
Yes.
proposed.
Yes, the original proposal, some were too high for what we can afford.
Anybody else have a?
I mean, you don't have to give a reason for why you are taking a particular.
Well, I don't know if they don't have to, I
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
asking if they wouldn't want.
I think the answer really is, it's, everybody looked at proposed numbers in terms of what the borough could afford based on its revenues and based on what projected needs are.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Kathy?
I just want to say that I really think that the budget needs to be revamped wage-wise. Some employees seem to be grossly underpaid in this area. And for the work that they do and how they keep everything running, I am hoping that the salaries for the administrative staff in the office is not just for 1.5 people. I am hoping it is for 2, so that the office can keep moving smoothly, keep going smoothly. And as far as the public works guys, they deserve their raises too. You really need to look back at that and increase salaries. And you need to bring the salaries up to what these people are doing. You really do. They bust their humps for this borough. And how you show your appreciation for what they're doing is by giving them raises, giving them merits. That's how you show your appreciation. You don't go, oh, yeah, keep doing all that work, but we're not gonna give you any money for it. That is how you lose good employees. There are people out there looking for jobs. Yeah, you wanna know what you're gonna get if any of these guys leave, or these ladies leave? Look at what some of these employers are getting. They don't wanna work, they just want that paycheck. So really, look at the salaries. You need to compensate these people for what they are doing. Because they are doing, and pardon my French, they are doing one hell of a job. This borough has never run better in all my years here. It hasn't, I'm sorry. You're not scared to walk into the office anymore. Because you're greeted with a smile and not a bunch of tension when you walk in. It's quite different. You ask a question, they get you an answer if they don't have the answer right there. They take the time and explain things to you. Public works guys, there's a problem. They are right there. They take care of it. I don't know if any of you's watched them work on that alley, shoveling macadam and busting their butts in that heat. I don't know if any one of you went and watched that. I could see it from my house. I felt bad for them and I took them water. It's like you need to really go back and look at the salaries for these people. That's all I have to say. I'm just not happy with the salary part of the whole thing. I understand it means increased taxes, but everything is going. Everything is. So you also need to think about that with not increasing their salaries according to the cost of living increase.
Thank you, Kathy. Anyone else? Nope. Okay, we have the solicitor.
All right. First item up, the status of the revised memorandum of understanding for feasibility study for Long Swamp Township. Long Swamp is going to be discussing this in this month's meeting. They had to cancel their November 22nd meeting where it would have been discussed. So still hopefully can wrap it up this month. Communication with Norfolk Southern, don't have anything to report on that. The final item is the amendment to the quality of life ordinance regarding clearing of a path on a grass plot adjacent to the street in the absence of a sidewalk. It's only in the location that a sidewalk would be in that right of way, and it's an amendment to the streets and sidewalks section of the borough ordinance, as well as the quality of life ordinance, which which requires clearing of ice and snow from sidewalks after a storm. Everybody has had this since before the November meeting, had a chance to review it. Does anyone have any questions on it? Any comments, any possible revisions?
No, I think the clarification was that we are not asking people to shovel where they wouldn't normally shovel a sidewalk. It seemed to be, a misunderstanding that we would be requiring to be cleared where it wouldn't normally be cleared. It's just where there'd be a continuation of sidewalk for safe walking.
Right, it's, fronting along streets or public ways of the borough, but that would not be, an alley or enforced as to an alley.
How are we going to handle, properties that have, non-passable, where sidewalks are, they have things there, like rocks? There's a place on Center Avenue that had rocks where the sidewalk was supposed to be. On the rocks?
Well,
I mean, I know for a walk every day, I would not walk on that.
Well, it's possible,
Possible to shovel around it possibly?
Yeah, just so that there's a path cleared, a safe
Okay.
path.
They can come in.
That would be just, if they would ask, that would be my answer to that.
Yeah.
We may be enforcing it, it's gonna come up a lot.
Part of what we're like.
I'll just reiterate that I'm not a fan of this at all. I think the cost that it's gonna cost the guys to go out and shovel all the grassy areas that are our responsibility is not worth it, because I don't think people are gonna use it. And I think the liability we're putting on homeowners to have people walk across their grass, across paved areas, across, around trees, around all different, I just don't think it's worth it. I don't think we're gonna get out of it what the intent is. I think people are still gonna walk in the street.
Can't, but if they get hit, then at least that's not on us.
People have been walking in the street
Well, and they do,
decades.
yes, they do.
I know a lot more people who have fallen on bad sidewalks than I do that have been hit by cars.
I don't prefer a post ban or.
And we're gonna look at, these guys are gonna
down.
be doing the roadways for hours and hours and then have to be done and go and shovel grass. For all the right-of-ways, all the detention ponds, all the parks.
But that's not where a sidewalk is continued. A lot of those
Right.
areas, that's.
There are spots on our property.
Right, there are.
that
Yes, there are.
Should have sidewalks if you're not.
Yes, there are. Correct.
And that would be.
So my question is, if you're walking on wet grass, because that grass is not gonna, I mean, you're gonna shovel that, you're gonna get some of the snow off, and now you're dealing with a slick set of wet grass. That's a concern. Like, I would not allow my children to walk on that, and I would tell them to walk in the street. Because of the safety of you're slipping, you're falling, anytime you walk on slushy grass, and that's what you're gonna get when you shovel that. So I agree, I think that's more of a safety hazard than having them walk in the streets. Cause most of your kids are in sneakers, they're not in boots or anything like that, they're just in regular sneakers walking to school. And my kids all walk to school, I live in Borough.
Since Troy here, I can ask him this question. You know the corner of East Smith and St. John? You know, you guys have to push the snow somewhere, so my corner sort of has become a designated corner because the other ones have the handicapped accessible. So I don't know how, I mean, I have all I can do just to get my fire hydrant, because that gets packed in. I don't know how I would ever cut through, and we get those snowfalls, 6-7 feet of icy packed snow. I don't know how I would ever do that. I mean, even if I would hire a guy with it's not gonna work with a snowblower to get through there.
That's a lot of snow removal.
Cause it gets pushed up onto my lawn, so that the street's clear. And I'm sure I'm not the only corner house that has to happen to it.
Let's talk about when they clear the intersections. Push
Yeah, yeah.
Any other discussion? Does anyone want to make a motion on this ordinance?
I did wanna say, are you okay?
You're dealing with it for a week, be okay.
Yeah, this whole situation with the sidewalks is really, we've really had, we have a town that's had ordinances since the beginning of time that has required property owners that built homes along our streets to provide walkways. And then those ordinances were never enforced. Now, we haven't had enforcement. Part of our job as a council is to make our town safe for its residents. So we have quite a dilemma because we have people that have sidewalks that were never put in, which weren't their fault. They bought a property and that property could have been built in the early 1900s, and there were ordinances on the books that properties had to have pathways and a walkway in front, and they were never put in. So it kind of opens us up, unfortunately, to an even bigger issue, which is those people that have areas that are grassy need to get those to be compliant with the ordinances that have been on the books for years. And that's something we have to talk about as an alternative at some point, because our job is to keep our community safe. And for years, people have been walking in the streets, which then puts the liability on the borough instead of the property owner. The other flip side of that is we have right now ordinances on the books that are discriminatory. So if you happen to buy a property that has a sidewalk versus someone who didn't buy a property that doesn't have a sidewalk, that should have had a sidewalk, now you're exempt, your non-compliant property is exempt from our ordinances, because if you don't shovel your sidewalk, now you're going to get fined and get in trouble if you do have a sidewalk and you don't shovel it versus someone who doesn't. So really the issue is this is like a temporary thing until we can address, and I feel that we can come up with a plan as a community to make something work with putting sidewalks in on properties that currently don't have them that should have. And that could be a plan that gets stretched out over a 10-year period. It could be something where we escrow funds from a closing, so people don't have to, maybe if they don't have the funds, it could be pulled out of their proceeds. There's many things that communities across Pennsylvania are doing to address issues where we need to put cement in, and we know that's an expensive endeavor. We could put in waiving some fees associated with that. We could maybe get a group rate for people that could do it, but we should be looking towards what can we do to make our community safe for our residents to walk down the sidewalk. So this is just kind of a Band-Aid for now.
Have there been a lot of problems in the streets that I haven't heard about? Because I've lived here over 20 years and I've not heard about issues of people walking.
The major issue comes in with White Street.
It's our
because
postal
the speed and the
workers.
volume of traffic.
There's
the
postal
properties that
workers,
come in.
very different streets.
It is, but we can't make it just for that, it has to be borough-wide. So while there's probably not very many issues on Smith Street, for example, we can't just say on White Street you have to have sidewalks, but on Smith Street we're not gonna address that.
So people have been hit on White Street?
I don't think anyone's been hit, but it was, the post office brought the concern to us first, because every day they're up and down delivering mail, and they have to go out in the street with decker trucks going by and all that stuff, not just decker trucks, but that was where we first learned about it, but.
And another reason this is coming up now, it has been brought up before, but we have our TASA project, which is a safe walkway to school from the town. And also we painted the crosswalks to show, that that's where you're supposed to cross to go to school. So there are many safety walking things being put into place right now. This would just go along with that.
I think many of us would prefer to have sidewalks, every street, a walkway, 48 inches wide. Every place that's grass now, or whatever is there, be put in sidewalks. That's a tremendous financial burden to the property owner. That's the only reason we're considering this.
It's an alternative to putting in sidewalks.
Right.
And fix every single cracked
Yeah, that's the other concern,
And
it's not just the properties
There will be
that have,
hundreds of people in here.
yes.
Tom,
it-
that's why there's
exactly.
gotta be a plan long.
We'd also
long-term.
lose a lot of big trees, because the tree is the reason that so it would be a lot of work to fix the sidewalks in town. First thing I'll say, I agree with Michelle, though, I think it's gonna put a lot of work on the guys, I think it's gonna put a lot of work on Carol. And we saw last year, it was hard to keep up with quality of life complaints in the first place, so this would be, every house that doesn't have a sidewalk right now is gonna get hit for quality of life the first snow we get.
Well, I think we have to send notices to people.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
That-
sure,
that-
but, I mean,
would have
there's
to
gonna be a lot of people who go, I'm gonna go shovel my grass,
They
and
could
then it's
put-
up to
they
us
could
to
put-
enforce
they
it.
could put
and-
gravel down, they could put rock salt down, I mean, they could do something to make that.
I don't think they're gonna do anything, I mean, it's just my personal feeling, but.
I wouldn't do it, I wouldn't do it because of liability, if nothing else, because then you're inviting people to walk on your property. And if you have, say you have like she does, you have a sidewalk that goes directly out of your house, you're gonna have a pathway that goes from grass to sidewalk to grass, and planters and everything else, and you're just inviting people to fall on your
And
property.
there's properties that have things that, there's no sidewalk there, but it's impassable, there's a fence, or there's, something like that, so it doesn't address that item.
So then we have to address putting sidewalks in.
That would be the only way to go, but I don't think that's gonna happen.
Well, I mean, then we can't find people for not clearing a sidewalk, because now we're discriminating.
So then.
So we have people.
You're not, you know what you bought,
But the whole.
and you know if you have a sidewalk, you're responsible for it.
Yeah, it's not a I agree, it's not a discrimination issue, because if
Grass
you,
there, they have to do it, that's not gonna change
Because-
what they're doing.
the borough can require anybody to put in a sidewalk, and again, you know what you're buying, and you're buying that responsibility. Different properties carry different responsibilities, so I'm not worried that it's discrimination or somehow unfair. I mean, a sidewalk actually increases the value of the property, so I can't say that, there's an unfairness.
That's not.
I can't say there's an unfairness in it, that one person has to shovel, one person doesn't. Different properties carry different obligations.
Well, but like you said at the last meeting, that we could just require everyone to sidewalks, and that takes care of that.
You can, you
Which
have
is the way you address it.
right, I mean, you can send out notices, today to every property owner that doesn't have a sidewalk.
We don't wanna do that.
And I agree with you that there might be things that we can look into
I think there's a plan,
to.
a long-term plan that we could.
Right, I mean, there are long-term,
What year did you start here? Your
2008.
Okay, in 2007, the last minutes before you started on here, it was actually back then that, and I think it was something in 1974 this has been being discussed for decades, and no one's addressing it. This is nothing new.
I mean, one thing about sidewalks.
It's all business.
Yeah, one thing about sidewalks to consider, something I have seen other places where there is, for example, a new owner or a new use or a zoning approval and the property doesn't yet have a sidewalk, is that you require sidewalks as a condition of a zoning approval, for example, and you give a deferral of a couple of years to put it in, let them save the money. And now, obviously, with most residential properties that don't require zoning approvals, you don't have that hook. But you can talk about deferrals, for example, notice that sidewalks are gonna be required, but a deferral of a certain amount of time, or until the property is sold. There are ways of handling.
That's what I'm saying.
There are
We can
ways
come up with a
there are ways of
long-term plan.
handling, getting sidewalks put in as a priority. It will take time, but there could be a program.
What we had done, actually, when we resurfaced Barclay, and we're doing in several other municipalities, is when there's a project that sets for the resurfacing of a road, whether it's because of utilities or road resurfacing. At that point in time, as part of that project execution or in the design phase, a sidewalk inspection is done, and a report issued to the council, and that outlines the sidewalks that have, the existing sidewalks that have problems, and the places where there are not sidewalks. And then you make the choice on how to go forward. Like I said, we're doing that in several places, so as we do projects and streets, that one of the reasons that makes sense is you definitely want the curb brought up to par before you pave against it, and that's a good reason to get the sidewalk up to par, so that you're getting it all up. Like I said, we did that, we fixed the sidewalks on Borough. Now, at that point, the council chose not to put sidewalks in where they weren't. But, so that's, the area where that's gonna be tough is the one we've talked about as being the flag, is Weiss. Because anything you do there for sidewalks, as if you're gonna touch any paved surface, that becomes an HOP. And if the sidewalks are in PennDOT's right of way, that's an HOP. And that's tough for individual homeowners to try to work with PennDOT to get the things up to par for that. So your state routes in the borough would be a challenge that way. They would be the ones doing it. PennDOT, because we're doing on the tacit process.
What's an HOP?
Highway occupancy permit. Any work you do inside a PennDOT right of way requires a permit from PennDOT. And they require, they would require the borough to take part in any paperwork because they want a public entity involved, but private owners can do it. That's driveway, that could be sidewalk, it's anything you do in the right of way. It requires a highway occupancy permit from PennDOT. And it's the same standards whether you're a single homeowner or you're the borough doing the stuff. They don't care.
Well, the only issue with that is if we go street by street, then those people, whoever's there is on the spot to do something within a very short period of time. And I think if we did something to try to work with the community over a long period of time, to, you know, kind of get them in the groove of this needs to get done, and then maybe we could work that way, because per street, we've got a lot of streets we're gonna be working on, right?
Okay, regarding this ordinance, is there any action to be taken? Does anybody want to take any action on it? Nope. Okay. Go ahead.
Motion. You make a motion authorizing advertisement, or you make a motion? Motion authorizing advertisement, so.
Okay, there's a motion on the table to advertise this, amendment to this quality of life. Second?
We do a roll call.
I was just gonna say that, I was just gonna say that, let's do a roll call on this.
Ms. Cook?
Yes.
Ms. Falcone?
Yes.
Ms. Kunkle?
Yes.
Ms. Lorah?
Yes.
Mr. Polinsky?
No.
Mr. Stoudt?
No.
Mrs. Stoudt?
No.
4 to 3.
4 to 3 is yes.
Okay, so you've authorized the advertisement? All right, it'll be advertised, for the January meeting.
What does that mean?
What that means is that, at the beginning, a summary will be advertised in the newspaper, and then it will be, discussed at a public meeting, and a vote will be taken as to whether or not to adopt it.
A vote by the council,
Vote by Borough Council, yes.
and that would be, the public would come to that?
It's just like
It'll be
this,
at
it's
the
next
next
meeting.
Public can come to the meeting, public can offer comment for or against.
So the only place that's advertised is in the newspaper?
It is advertised, it will be in the newspaper, but I believe it will also be on the website, social media pages,
Website in a minute, yeah.
Okay, on the website.
So just the website and the minutes, not,
And the newspaper.
and the newspaper? So if you don't get any of the newspapers,
Yeah.
you're kind of
It's
screwed
it's
with knowing
Right.
Well,
what it is.
the meeting is being recorded, so you can always view this meeting.
Right,
And where would you?
but I've lived in the borough for 5 years, I never knew the meetings were recorded till I came here.
They weren't.
It's
Just
recent.
started.
Ah, thank you.
Where will you be holding that meeting?
It's here, it's a regular council meeting.
You
At
think there'd be
regular
enough
second-
space? You think there'd be enough space?
I don't think enough people are gonna see the
Well, they-
advertisement, that's why I was asking when
might.
it would be advertised.
It's
We don't have a bigger building, so this is the one.
Okay, borough manager.
We were informed today by PSAB that, This is not on the agenda, so this is an addition to the agenda.
So you'll need to vote to amend the agenda if any official action can be taken?
Correct. We were informed that, Department of Labor and Industry has increased the, UC withholding rate for 2023. It'll go up, okay, so it's 0.01%. It is currently now 0.06 and it's going up to 0.07. I don't believe that that causes any action. If we find that the budget in 2023, once it's very little funding, so if we need to make some sort of an amendment, we could do that during the year. So no official action is required this evening. Next item is the MMO, PMRS, who administers, that's the administrator of our pension, made a mistake when they gave us the sheet that we are required to use by them. They made a mistake on the costs associated with our calculations and didn't include the disability cost rate. So the MMO is now for 2023, $36,186.
And it's an increase from what?
From the previous MMO, I would have to pull my files. It's an adjustment.
So we have copies of that.
Yeah, this was furnished twice to council already. There wasn't a revision by myself because of an error, and now it's another error. So next up is any additional questions on the budget as presented to council and the public? The public has been provided copies, revisions were made according to some of the requests of council, and in order to make it balance. So council's requests are in here, and then I did my own revisions to make it balance per fund. So what you see before you is a reduction in public works with a salt shed being removed. From sewer, there was a truck, a vehicle to be used by the operator of the sewage treatment plant, wastewater treatment plant. Also included to cover costs for water and sewer are increases in the rates across the board with residential rents, commercial rents, and industrial rents for both water and sewer. And that increase is, based on my calculations, a 30% increase for both. Any questions for me?
At the last meeting, we talked about the 25% for sewer only.
And nothing for water.
Yeah, how did we get from that to this?
We expected to have more of a cash balance in the fund surplus line item of the budget. We do not. We spent down almost all of what we would expect to be the fund balance in the water. So that takes away from the revenue at the end of the year.
So that's because we were gonna hold off on the water rate, and try and spread
Correct.
this out a little bit, but.
Yes. And the 25% increase was only for residential. That was discussed at the last meeting. Residential sewer.
I recalled it being, let's spread that over the other two. I didn't recall there being a discussion of raising water at the last meeting.
Council can choose not to do that. What I presented to council was in order for us to apply the revenues that we have predicted and to cover our costs for the expenses underwater. This is what would be needed.
Are you saying that our water and sewer bills are going up 30%?
That's what's proposed.
Let's see what those numbers are. Yeah.
You see it almost everywhere.
I would like to introduce the idea for pricing. What we're doing is looking at expenses and then making, requesting and requiring the people to pay to make the expenses. That makes sense, doesn't it? There's no incentive here for conservation, their current, approach. And water is like right up there in the top 2 or 3 of our most essential commodities, essential, life essential things. And I would love to see Topton somehow have a system that would encourage people to think about leaving the water running when you're brushing your teeth. No, you can turn it off while you brush. Just different concepts, and be rewarded by paying a little bit less somehow. If a group could get together and look at some ideas on that, I would prefer that than this is just, here it is, pay.
Right, but we are talking about the budget for next year, and hopefully we can put that together a week or 2 before the end of the year, you know, but that's a fantastic idea.
And we have 783 properties total in Topton. And I'm assuming that, maybe not all of them, because some of them are vacant, there's 27 vacant non-served properties. So, that's, what is our number of actual accounts that we have for water and sewer? With residential?
Approximately 925, Troy and Randy and Scott. Because there are multiple units in some of the properties.
So that's not many users for the system we have. I mean, you look at Fleetwood, they pay half the price because they have thousands of people in their system. They have 5,000 residents, so more or less. So our costs are high because we have very few people. A very expensive system.
And Ginger, the minimum now, is $121.50, it would go up to $157.95, so it's just 30.
Yeah, but
Right,
that's a lot.
No, I just wanted to know, I wanted to let her know what the amounts were.
So I always pay the minimum, even when you have like 2 bills.
The cost to live here in this small town is already high with taxes and everything else. To 30% increase in water bills, it doesn't seem like a lot to you, but to the people that are living paycheck to paycheck, it's a lot.
But it's the infrastructure, it's what we need to pay for costs. It's the cost to use the system.
That's the problem, we don't bring in enough money to pay the cost to operate the plant without an increase. And the water, if you haven't been here for this is very important. And this is not just us, it's other communities. We're looking to have an alternate well to provide water in the event that we have an event where our well gets contaminated for our whole town.
Or dries.
Or dries up, good point. So we've got some hefty expenses awful expenses moving forward that we have to pay for.
Topton's not cheap.
No, I understand things, cost money, but I find it interesting that a budget and an increase like that is put together without any put out to the community about that. It's, as an accountant looking at this budget, it's kind of interesting to see.
Our meetings have been advertised, our budget meetings have been advertised, and it did say on the sign, I do recall seeing on the sign out front that we would be discussing water and sewer rates.
And we've been having budget meetings since June.
Yeah, since June.
I'll also put this out there, because we really don't know, it's kind of an unknown. So the way we pay our bills is, we've got what it takes to run our water and sewer plant, but we have money in our general fund that we use to pay bills because our money comes in quarterlies, right? So every time you're using the system, we get paid in big chunks. but we have all these bills that have to be paid before we get our money in. So we pull money from a general fund to pay bills, and we don't have any we don't know the back history going back in time of how much money was reimbursed to the general fund to balance our water and sewer accounts. Does that make sense? Sound like what I'm saying is, I mean, from years going past, so potentially, we could have been using general funds or tax funds to offset shortfalls that might have been in the budget for the water and the sewer. We don't know, because we don't know what, the records weren't very clear on that. Years back, so you're looking at 30% as, wow, it's a big number to all of a sudden just jack this up. But I don't know that we can say how it got that way.
Somebody was covering it for a while, not putting it on.
And
the
not
residents.
putting
It's
it-
the same
and
as taxes
increase
and
the-
everything, taxes haven't gone up and stuff, so we're in a position now where we're looking at huge deficits. And if you want anything to get done, we either need a grant or a really, really big loan, you know? I don't know, I absolutely agree with you, 30% is really high, but we have to do something or it's gonna collapse.
Just to make up shortfall for 2022, we put in from the COVID funds, how much, 231,000, was that?
I reduced it for this budget.
Okay,
Yes.
it was roughly how much?
We've been paying one credit card with the other one, you know what I mean, and living paycheck to paycheck ourselves as a borough. And we're trying to figure out some way for that to stop.
So, page 10 of 13. 392.010.
If that's if we don't get it yet.
50,000 of that COVID money, American Rescue Plan.
For next year?
Yes, so we wouldn't put a crutch into the budget for sewer. If we put the entire amount like I had in the previous budget, of over $200,000, that would have been a crutch. And it wouldn't be really truly covering, it would only be still falling short to cover its costs with its own revenues.
So we have a subsidy that came to us from the government.
Yeah, that's
As
true.
an offset from the COVID catastrophe that we're using in this budget, otherwise we would be negative by a substantial amount more. Probably $1 million, or,
$1,078,000 approximately.
yeah, 78 would be
I
giving.
mean, that's what that money was for, so
Yeah.
I don't have an issue with using that money to balance the budget. That's what it was meant for, was to help the communities such as ours, who have a 30% poverty level. So,
It's one time, and it's a one-time gift that they gave us.
right,
So next year, what happens next year? Then we're gonna have a real shortfall. We're holding back some of that to use next year. Try and cushion the blow. These are awful blows.
Anything else?
Any other questions?
Did you say that we could, one possibility would be to keep the water the same and only increase the sewer? Someone say that?
No, that's
That's what we had talked about last year, but that's where we were doing that, we were buying ourselves a year before having to increase the water by putting all of the money from the. I don't like the position we're in, I don't really have any other questions about the budget.
It's a crappy position.
We had to pay 30% of a generator at the water plant now, and 70% of the cost is in, just for an example, is in 2023's budget. Just and things fall apart.
Sure.
And that fell apart completely this year.
I don't know if you want other things in the budget, or if you wanna stay with water and sewer a little bit more.
It's up to everyone.
Well, do we have to decide the water and sewer rate increase before we approve the budget, since it's in the budget?
Yes.
Yes, I think you would have to, so there's, a potential, ordinance to increase water and sewer rates that you would need to, you would need to either authorize for advertisement or decide not to.
We don't have a choice, do we? Our expenses are more than.
Well, it's a gamble either way, because like, for instance, Washington Street Pump Station is in the budget at 100%, that we don't get any grant money, but we don't know. So it's a gamble either way. But are we going to raise water and sewer 30% and do a tax increase? I mean, we can't afford it, we just can't.
We can't do all of that.
We can't.
No.
You can't.
So, do we lessen the increase with the expectation that there may be another increase next year? Do we, I don't know the answer, I'm just asking the questions, but I'm not comfortable with 30%.
No, not even.
I mean, for somebody like me, that's like $100 a quarter. I mean, and that's huge. I mean, anybody with a family, they're looking at $100 a quarter, that's a lot.
How much of a buffer do we have in our budget, like for just surplus?
The
Again,
surplus that we have at the end of the year,
10%?
there is no.
There's no buffer.
It's
So
all
then I
dependent on
cut
rents.
everything that I could. I mean, if things come in,
I tell you, when I was
Cheaper.
specifically looking for roadway project money, it was pennies here, pennies there, maybe, you know, we're so tight. And it's all just operating expense, you know.
Charlie, what's your thoughts on the Washington Street grant?
Unfortunately.
I know you can't give me a definitive, but.
So I think it's probably of the 30 that I've done in the last half year, it's probably the best one because it's the most out-of-date piece of infrastructure I'm dealing with. But the challenge on the grants is that everybody and their brother, sister, aunt, and uncle knows there's money out there. And the state's been really pushing it. And one of the reasons the grant awarding dates have been pushed so much is because they've gotten so many applications. So they're trying to weed through it and play Solomon, they like to give partials out, so that would be your risk. That's the big risk is getting a partial.
How much is that grant?
That's for the full 120. I think that one was 120.
And would 120 cover the whole thing?
I think there was some more in there because some of that was matched on top of that. So the estimate we had there for full award would cover the whole thing. But if you get part of it, you're faced with the choice of do we make up the difference or
give the money back.
Or give the money back. On the water line replacement projects, it's pretty straightforward. If they fund us for half of it, we do half for the water line replacement. That works pretty easily. A pump station, we can't do that with. It's the Washington Street project. The only thing I could pull out of that would be the resurfacing, but you'd have to do it anyway. So there is really nothing in that project that can cut scope significantly.
And it has to be done.
And
It's done.
that your guys can't replace the equipment anymore. It's so old that, and it's not safe.
and it
So-
services half the community.
Yeah, so it's, and that's the story with a lot of those grants,
Is
unfortunately.
there anything we can do?
At this stage, no, they'll announce
It's
them.
just sit and wait.
It's sit and wait until they announce. We'd hoped that it would have been announced 3 months ago, but, we thought maybe they'd announce for Christmas surprises so people could budget, but they've missed the budget season, so there's not a real good reason to announce their next meetings in January. So we know they're looking at them because they followed up on them all, but, that doesn't tell us a whole lot, unfortunately. Stacy's been in this business as long as I have, and we're, so.
So the question is, how much do they wanna gamble? In hopes that grant money comes in.
Are you hiring new people in the water treatment plant currently? No. Curious why the salary budget jumped so much for both sewer and water if you don't have an additional person coming in.
Well, previously, time was allocated in such a way that if Scott worked part of his time at the water plant and part of his time on streets, it wasn't allocated that way. So hopefully our approximations of actual time spent in departments.
So you just reallocated it to different buckets. Understand. Just, it's a $45,000 difference from 2022 to 2023 budget, that's why I was curious.
What are we gonna do?
I definitely don't think we can do anything, both the tax rate and the water and sewer at this age, so, which is more important, I suppose.
So do you propose, we have to figure out what we're gonna do here. If you say you're not gonna agree with this, what are you gonna do?
You said you
What
have
is that?
30 in here already, correct?
I have the 30% increase in all rates, water and sewer, in the budget to make them balance, correct?
And what about tax? You did nothing with that?
I did not.
Okay.
So the tax rate stays the same with this?
With this budget, correct. Thinking that if we would raise taxes for real estate, not ambulance or fire, that those funds, if it's a mill, it's approximately $78,000, that would go towards projects like a street project.
It's just starting to get a little bit more expensive than I would like to live in Topton.
Yeah, we're tied.
I'm not putting that on anybody, that is what it is.
And it's difficult. The gentleman in front of you can attest that whether you use a gallon or 10,000, it costs the same to run the plants.
No, I understand,
Yeah.
I'm not,
Whether you have a town of 10 or 10,000, a plant is a plant and has all the regulations that a plant must.
right, but I mean, what I'm saying is our roads are falling apart, businesses are closing, leaving town left and right, you know what I mean? 67% or something of our town is rentals, no one, owns their property and lives in it anymore. So, I understand that all these numbers are what they are, but it's starting to make me feel like just look somewhere else to live. And that's what it's gonna look like to everybody who would contemplate living here. It's gonna become a place you don't move to because it's a good place to live, you come to here because it's cheap.
Nothing's cheap anymore.
No, but you know what I mean, like comparatively, if you can afford to live in a, I don't know.
Well, look at some of the other constraints we have, and I think this is something we should look at as a council, that every year, or maybe several times throughout the year, I don't wanna keep going, because that's just gonna be a long meeting, but we should be talking to our legislators more about these inequalities and how they're putting together monies that don't trickle down to us. And look at the roads, we get 9 miles worth of roads in our town, and we get how much?
60 grand.
60,000 and we need 60 million to fix our streets. It's impossible to fix our streets based on how they calculate how much they're gonna give us.
Then that should be something that you put on your agenda to do in the future, because we have to have this budget done.
I know, I'm just
So
saying
let's
that
look at
these are
that.
the things that we're up against, that we don't, just the public, and I'm so glad you're here. Please keep coming to meetings, because you need to hear what's happening here. We
This is
don't,
just
we
one
don't
of
get the funding, it doesn't come down to us dollar for dollar in our taxes to help offset what we're doing here. Liquid fuels tax money. that you pay when you put gas in your car. What comes to us is a Zippo. That's why our streets look so horrible. There's just no end to it. I mean, I'm new to this and I'm just flabbergasted. The lack of monies and what it costs to do everything. And alleys, how many tens of thousands to repave.
These are usually from 30% to 20% increase. What does it take on the other side to make up for that 10%? Where can
We put off projects.
Well, no, but we, say we get the grant, say we're getting like.
That's
for that 10%.
Water and sewer, that was a health well, the light issue was still.
And at the end of the year, see something, or save something, at number 30.
Don't think about that too much,
What did, I'm sorry, what did you suggest?
I asked Stacy to get it down to 20% for across the board. What it would take. What we.
The hope that we get grant money for the Washington Street Pump Station.
Roll the dice. And if we don't get the grant, try to make it up somewhere during this year.
And then you're saying that 20% and that's it, no tax?
Correct. No tax increase, because there was none to begin with.
I'm saying do 30 and no tax increase, but
That is what it is.
That's what, yeah, I'm trying to reduce
the
it by
roads
10%.
just stay unfortunately how they are. I think
Well, the tax increase honestly isn't gonna make much of a dent in the roads either.
no, but it gets something somewhere. Right.
I'm thinking
Not
it's
much.
That is
we
coming
can
from
make it up somewhere.
We can't raise the taxes high enough without pricing people out of the towns and fix the roads, so that's a completely different.
So to answer your question, we would have to cut sewer by $67,000 somewhere in the expenses.
It's 10%.
And you're gonna have to guide me on where you wanna cut, because I've cut everything that I could.
Let's get rid of the
So that mill almost equates to that, like, difference of $10,000. Okay, no, I'm not being smart, I'm just trying to say.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
And like Michelle was saying, we have to bank on getting that grant for Washington Street, because
That's
$150,000 is in the budget for it now.
Yeah, I think, to tell you the truth, I think that might be the answer, that we're gonna have to take that risk. I can't say 30% is okay.
I'm with you, that's why I asked. Yeah. Wouldn't have
Charley
burdened.
didn't feel good about that, but I think we have.
No, I don't, but I don't feel good about a lot of the things we have to do.
Can I ask the solicitor a quick question? Do any boroughs or towns ever charge a renter's tax?
I'm not aware of a renter's tax. Normal real estate taxes that, are owned, and then there's per capita taxes, if you're thinking of that $10 per person tax. I mean, that's what you're thinking of, but there's no special tax that's assessed on renters. There's an.
So here's a list of all the taxes that may be incurred, enacted, if you'd like to take a look. And what taxes the borough.
I was just thinking school taxes and things like that. I
Yes,
never
well,
understood.
that would be us,
does not
that's not
touch
us.
Oh.
We don't get any of that.
That's a school.
So it'd only be the real estate?
And we only get part of that per capita that she was talking about. Part of that goes to the school and not us. Okay? So if you'd like to take a look at that, do you?
Same thing with the real estate, we don't get all of that either. Some of it goes to the ambulance and the fire.
If we did the same to the water rent, we'd have to make up.
$15 a
$36,500 out of the expenses.
Yeah, but I mean, it all comes on one bill, it's just that it's broken down, yes. That's what I was saying, that bill, not all of it goes to us.
Okay. Everybody does look at that differently.
Yeah.
Right.
But 30%
Is the, Stacy, the 105 in the water, is that the matching?
I kept stealing his.
105,000.
Thank you.
It is matching numbers of the, I think it's around 61 or 62,000, plus any other breaks that we get. It's not just what we had planned on Keller, et cetera.
If we eliminate the borough manager position, you know, we have
$86,000, there you go.
We already did that. Didn't go so well.
I'm only looking at a year.
Put you on vacation.
I already know.
I'm still kind of trying to understand where the increase for the water and sewer salary came from, because I don't see a decrease anywhere else for that amount of money.
Okay, so what specific line item, if you wouldn't
So,
mind, just tell me a page number?
So page 9, salaries. The budget for 2022 is 52,000. Your year to date's only through October. So
That's it right there.
that's your 67,000 there. So that was my question, is whether or not you hired somebody new there. And then your page 11, your sewer, in the same situation, budgeted was 60,000, you're at 67 now, your new budget's 89.
Yeah, that's what that is. That's 3 months.
Mm-hmm. It's got a full quarter missing.
So, so that was kind of the question, was whether or not you have, if it's only the one person, was the increase for 2022 not a, it just
More than
seems
one
very
person.
odd.
It's more than one person.
So,
Okay.
in 2022 is when we started allocating based on use of staff. Not saying, oh, this guy, it should be charged to sewer and nothing else gets charged to sewer salaries. Then all the other people kind of get charged mostly to public works and a little bit to water.
Right. I understand that, it's just, it seems odd that that had such a big jump where it doesn't, you don't have anything gone away somewhere else. And the reallocation is worth discussing here, so that was just my,
And you know what else, we had discussed that we put money aside every year between the reed beds. Can't do it. She doesn't have it, no, can't do it. So we have to come up with that money when they're doing 6 years again, 7 years, 6 years now.
When you were looking at the sewer, you're looking at the salaries at 67,900.
right, that's your year to date, I wasn't looking at your
Yeah,
year
so
to
when you
date.
multiply that out, we're basically add another quarter, that number at the 89 is pretty close to what it should be.
Correct, but what my concern was is that you budgeted for 2022 60,000, and your budget for 2023, based off of your year to date, is almost 90,000, which is a $30,000 increase. But didn't bring on anybody new, moved it from another bucket, but that bucket for 2022 to 2023 doesn't have that negative 30,000. So somewhere in all of this, a total of 45,000 was added to the budget, but there.
Well, between the reallocation of the amount of use of that person, which is more accurate now than it ever was before, plus this is reflecting an increase in pay as well.
Understand, yes,
So
which,
it's not
yeah.
really comparing apples to apples.
Well, I'm sorry to say, I'm say 30% no tax increase at the moment. We keep going back and forth here, we need to kind of.
Yeah.
I don't wanna charge people 10% more because we wanna get it done.
I'm okay with 20%. No tax
If
increase.
we can figure out a way.
No tax.
And taking a chance. We don't have any catastrophic need for that money.
And then it is a great need.
And look, it's a grant money. If it's an issue, then I guess we postpone something until, because this is gonna get, most of this is gonna get done through the end of the year. Maybe postpone something to the next budget. If needed,
Postpone what?
Run short.
Yeah, what are we
What's
gonna
we
postpone?
We're postponing, if there's anything we have to do that we could put off a few months to get into the next budget, if we don't have it for short-term cash, so, I'm not saying we should, I'm just saying, to see how it goes.
For water and sewer? What do we have scheduled? To do it?
We're looking into the well, I mean, the new well,
But that's not
That's
even,
not
that's
even-
not even in there, there's nothing that we have budgeted for.
Does it have to be done?
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
I'm just saying that's about the right enough amount.
Back in 2 weeks.
I'm, that's where my thought process is right now, so we're disagreeing on it, but
Okay, so nobody has, we have to do something, and she's gotta redo this whole budget and figure out, if you don't wanna do the 30%, Stacy's gonna have to sit and figure out where she's gonna get that money from somewhere else. So we're not gonna be able to approve the budget tonight,
And you'll have to have a second meeting.
on the 26th,
Right.
the day after Christmas, which is a day off for.
But you're also going to have an ordinance at least advertised on water and sewer rates as to what you think that they're
Gonna be, we have to do that now because of time.
So if you want to authorize an advertisement of a 20% increase, for the 26th, you can do that now, consider it at that time, but at least then it will be advertised.
So either we agree with the 30%
Or the,
increase.
or a lesser amount.
And, right, and adopt the budget, or
Well, no.
another amount, no, I'm saying, if it's a 30%, we can adopt the budget.
30%, but not 20.
Right. Or we have to just, one thing that has to be done is the sewer rate increase has to be decided upon.
okay. Like, we put something out there, are we voting on it, or what?
For that, yes, we have to.
So that's what I'm saying, we're all just, we keep saying something.
No, that's what I'm
we
saying.
have, but then we just stand there and stare.
No, we need
Right.
we need a motion.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm making a motion that we do a 20% increase to sewer and water combined and 0 millage increase.
I'll second.
Any questions? All those in favor?
We're voting only on.
Only
sewer and
on-
water.
Only on sewer and water, right, because there is a resolution.
That has to be
set
out.
To set the tax rate if there is a change.
Okay? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No?
No.
All right, so then what I'll need, and I'll need new numbers from Stacy, to authorize the advertisement of ordinance 9-22 to increase the water and sewer rates by 20%. We'll authorize that for 12/26.
I'll second.
Any questions? All those in favor? Anyone opposed?
Okay, so Stacy, if you give me the numbers tomorrow, we'll get it advertised.
You know you're still there, sir.
I feel your pain, Randy, 3 weeks now.
Alright, so.
Okay, so you also need a motion on the resolution as to the tax rate. If
You don't
it's
have to
going
do
be
anything.
changed. Or you can wait until the 26th for that.
If it doesn't change, we don't have to do
Right,
anything.
you don't, right, you don't have to, you conduct the resolution setting the tax rate is no change. But if the tax rate is going to be increasing or could be increasing, you're gonna need to authorize the advertisement of an ordinance setting the tax rate. If it, we have a
Still have
just
to.
a resolution, just a resolution, it doesn't get advertised.
All right.
So that makes it.
Do whatever you're gonna do.
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 27/2022, setting the 2023 tax rate at what it is now.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, so we will be having a meeting on the 27th.
Yep.
Next up,
If there's other discussion on the budget, can that come in now?
sure.
There are a couple items I'd like for people to consider. It's not huge, but I grew up hearing it take care of, watch the pennies and dollars and take care of themselves. It's not gonna fix any roads, but, we have currently a donation of 1,500 to the Fleetwood swim team. Sadly, our pool is gone forever. We don't have a swim team, we don't have a pool. There's no way I can see asking all the Topton residents, the taxpayers, to pay for a Fleetwood pool swim team.
It's for our,
People
it's
go
for
there.
our.
It's our kids.
Yeah.
That's where our swim team went.
What's the population of Fleetwood and what's the population here? Fleetwood should be able to support them.
So you're asking Fleetwood to support our kids then?
Whoever is
contributing
there,
nothing?
is, are kids from Fleetwood excluded from the swim team?
No, of course not, it's the Topton Fleetwood swim team.
Right.
They joined forces because we closed the pool.
So now they're in.
Well, in fact, they
different
didn't have a swim team until Topton.
Right, and
people
we
went out
supported
there.
them while they were here, which I was behind. I no longer think that's appropriate when we're watching everything, so that's one thing.
Because you're saying that we supported Fleetwood when they were here, but you're not gonna support Topton when they're at Fleetwood.
I'm saying money is very, very tight.
That's
And
not
Fleetwood
fair, that's not fair to the kids.
Fleetwood has a huge tax base, I don't know why they can't give them that big.
But it's our people that are there. It's our people that are there.
Isn't it Wordstown people and Lions people and all sorts of people?
Brandywine community.
Right, that's not.
And Topton had a pool that we paid for.
Yeah.
It was Topton's pool, and we paid for everything for the pool, and all those people came here
Right.
then.
Right. And we pay for everything, so now Fleetwood should pay for everything.
So I'd like to direct council that for 2023, we are not, it is not included in the budget to give the swim team a contribution.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what we were just trying to find it, because it was in the pool count, it's not there.
Great.
Okay.
Page 13.
That's what I thought. Okay,
So what is that for?
that's what we were trying to figure out. Okay.
I'll be honest, I didn't look, I'm assuming that.
It's not as seen in the past, it's
Yeah, there is.
Alright, now it is.
Why am I here? Why am I even gonna bother, like, paying attention to that?
Top line there.
Anything else with the budget discussion?
I said last time I wasn't happy with 14,000 going to recreational expenses.
We gave 1,500 this year.
It's not much to cut.
Nothing in
A
there.
little bit of pinch and pennies.
Would say the Christmas tree event, lighting of the tree was phenomenal. And the community organizations that helped out did a great job. I'd like to see us do more where the community organizations or businesses fund what we do, not to cut the events, I'm not saying that. but you get different funding rather than having the taxpayers pay for it.
So the tax.
We also need to thank them when they help with those things then as well, I'm just kinda saying.
Yeah, to thank you to them to enjoy something that they don't have to be
Do
responsible to
anything for that
entertain.
particular event then, right, give them a break, say thank you to them. It's
They
a give and
enjoy
take
that.
kind of thing there when it comes to that stuff.
I'd like to see a little money shaved off of that $14,000, if possible.
And I would also eliminate the YMCA park program.
That's part of what I'm talking about.
That was a small amount of Topton residents compared to the total who attended. If they can't finance themselves, or again, find a business who's willing to help support it. The Halloween parade, those floats cost thousands and thousands of dollars. I don't know if anyone counted, I think,
We pay a minimal amount for that parade. That's mostly funded by.
What is the amount of how much
We
the coach
paid
floats
nothing
cost
for
have to
a
do
float.
with us?
We drove around in a gator that cost maybe, what, 50 cents in gas that night?
No, but I'm just curious as to what the floats, what does that mean to us?
The parade needs more parades, and they're paying thousands for floats. Allentown got rid of all their floats starting next year. Their parade's not gonna have floats, they're expensive. Maybe the Shriners, we had, I think, 5 floats just from the Shriners, maybe they could cut back to, I mean, it's not up for me.
Why don't we
That doesn't cost us anything.
If we have to give them money to make up their shortage, it does cost us.
That's not us giving them a shortage, it's taking part in it.
Right.
They're saying they have a shortage without our contribution.
No, I think
We
they
didn't
said that
give-
our
we don't give the
contribution
money
is
to
important,
them.
but I just completely disagree with you, absolutely.
I agree.
I thought that was security costs.
That's right, it's
Yeah.
Fleetwood Police,
Staff
and,
costs.
right,
Staff and garbage
and us.
Our
removal.
costs are like 60 to 200.
Most of it's
That includes the lease.
Most
of
Yeah,
it's-
it's not
2,000
floats.
If we
not
need
floats, it's
flaggers
flaggers.
next year.
And flaggers. Pick or choose.
And
We should be very proud we can actually still have a parade, that everybody can behave, that we can still have a parade.
That's right, other towns haven't been so fortunate.
Correct.
Yeah.
as long as it's my night to have everybody in Topton hate me, I'm gonna say one last thing. There's no one who loves the library more than I do. It is a gem, it is a gold mine. Topton has been, is and has been paying a very unequal amount. Our population, which is where we get our tax money from, is only 2,204 people, 2,200 people. Long Swamp has 5,551, that's like 2.5 times where they can collect taxes. Rockland is 3646, so time and a half. We are paying more than anybody else by far. We're donating 15,979, I believe it is. Long Swamp, the biggest of all, is 13,711. So we are almost 2,000 ahead of them. It's just disproportionate, and I would suggest 2 things. We consider cutting our contribution to them from 15,000, whatever, down to 10,000, and working with them. I've been doing a bit of surveying in town. There are many people who don't know Topton has a library. And the ones who know there is a library never heard of any book sale. So I think the borough could be helping them raise their money. One of the things that hurt them was the schools gave hotspots and computers to whatever age on.
Where did you take your survey?
Around town, talking to people.
I just saw it online today.
We had discussed this at the last meeting, and I think,
Just took the survey
a few
tonight.
years ago, we had decided to raise the contribution
Yes,
to the library.
exactly.
because of their matches have been different. So we are actually helping them even more so by doing that. You might want to inquire with Swamp and Rockland, go to their meetings and find out why they did not increase their contribution.
They're paying a
But then we had a reason as to why we did that. Someone was here at last meeting saying how much they needed. Oh, sorry.
Carol, can I see your data?
This is just talking to people as a council person.
I just signed a survey online an hour before the meeting started tonight.
That's not what I'm talking about.
That's your survey.
But you don't
No,
have
that
data to
is
show.
his
No, it's not.
You don't have data to show that people don't know, like how many people don't know about the library or?
You could look back in reference of Topton.
On Facebook.
That's where there was
going
a
back
survey
a ways
today.
where somebody, no, that's not my survey, I told you what my survey was, excuse me. Talking to people. I love the library, I want the library to succeed. We can be doing advertising for the restaurant. I'd be happy to work with you on that.
Okay, so we're having a discussion of the library. Is there anything else that we have to add to the things that you want to cut, and then we'll see what anybody else says? Do we have any response to all that list of things?
The only thing I'll say is in general is I'm probably gonna disagree with you on a lot of that stuff, because I feel like cost is going up, we're losing this, we're losing that, businesses are leaving, I don't wanna take away anything from the parade, or the YMCA program, or any of that kind of stuff, because why the hell would anyone live here? We charge a really high rate, we charge a really high water rate and such, and we don't have anything to offer.
Well, they're separate budgets, but.
It's all coming in somewhere, no matter how it comes in the door and where it goes, you know.
I'm just saying that maybe we could look at some private funding.
To tell you the truth, my feeling would be not to offset our costs, but to make those events better. I would love to see private funding, I'd love to see, groups in town raising like TCOC does for the parade or something like that, that'd be amazing. But I don't wanna do that so that we can pay just a little bit less. You know what I mean? I wanna see that thing get better, I wanna see it be something that draws people into our, that maybe if you come to the parade and you go, look at how lively this is, and all day it's going on, and it's this crazy thing, maybe this isn't a bad place to open up a
I'm not
business.
saying we should cut the parade. I'm just
No, I'm
saying
just saying in
maybe
general.
maybe some-
Well, you just suggested that we cut what we give to the parade.
I said, yes, but they can get money other ways, or they could cut their expenses.
Right.
Anybody does a budget, you have so much money to work with, and you decide what you kind of use it. But maybe they would do two.
I'm just explaining my thought process so you understand how,
Carol.
Yeah, I have a question about the fireworks that are the end of the season bash. Does the borough pay for all of those fireworks?
That was cut out of the budget.
It was cut out,
Yes, it was.
okay.
It was a-
Not
yes,
that I don't
it
like
was-
fireworks.
It was very-
100%.
It was very costly, a very costly expense.
I would imagine it was.
Yeah, and it would have just got, the cost was gonna go up, I think, 30%. And for what it was, it's something that we cannot justify.
I was just, thinking that could be something that was
And it
cut out.
was.
Okay.
We did. That was the number.
But
one-
I
that
love
was the number one
fireworks.
thing.
I love fireworks, don't get me wrong, but
So just, I don't have any solutions because I haven't been thinking about this, but I mean, to run the town more like a business and bring in some revenue and stuff, like, instead of just doing this all the time,
that's what we're trying to do.
yeah, look forward, like what can we do to bring money in? I have no solutions right
Yeah,
now,
I
I'm sorry.
think it'd be
No,
great.
I know.
Ginger, I think it would be great if we could, when we have something, like we had, one of the events we had this summer, we actually had the churches that were there selling food, affordable food, which was helping them generate revenue. And if we could do things where we invite in organizations that need our help, like the library, have them, they already are participating, but they're not necessarily raising funds, using maybe some of our events to come and have a bake sale or do something that could bring money into them. We should be using these organizations or offering these organizations a spot where they can generate some
The
income.
library was invited and came and did what they wanted to do at every function. They did what they wanted to do at every
They
function.
weren't generating funds.
That's what they.
Did you do a fundraiser? Because I don't know if you know.
We've done fundraisers, but not
I
like
mean,
anything.
you don't do them in the park, you do them, but you don't, that would be another option possibly.
Right, that would
They have events up there to
Yeah, and I think if we
fundraiser.
could do something to get you guys, all not just you, but.
That would be
everyone
nice,
else
like
is-
like a little fair or something.
Yeah, what
Everybody
about,
else-
does
Absolutely.
Fleetwood make money off that carnival, that ridiculous carnival they have every year?
Okay.
No, I mean
So-
ridiculous as in it's
It's
just so
huge.
colorful and lively.
Huge.
This is now getting off track,
Okay.
because we need to decide if we're going to try to cut something else off this budget, or just move on.
Move on.
Move on. So we are at the,
Fleetwood Police.
yes,
I'll make a motion to authorize the execution of Fleetwood Police Services Agreement.
Second.
I had some questions.
however, there's one thing on here that is not correct, and Joan does have a corrected version of it.
That has to do with court appearances. In the, agreement, you have that court time is included in police service each week. That has been revised by agreement of the parties. Police officers' attendance at court is not included in the 40 hours of police service per week. Fleetwood shall bill Topton separately at the actual hourly rate of each officer for such police officers' required attendance at magisterial district judge and court of common pleas proceedings. So that's the only change that that you would have from the draft. So you need, with that change, you would need an authorization to enter into the police services agreement and to adopt the accompanying resolution for the police services agreement for a term of 3 years. It's a new agreement, 2023 agreement, at a cost of, I believe it's $163,600, yes.
Plus
And
the lease,
the, yes,
plus the lease,
Plus the vehicle lease, that's
plus
correct.
the court appearance.
right.
So, Joan, the hourly rate you talked about for the court appearances, is that just, would that be the
Yes.
$78.65 is what I divided by the number of hours, based on the 163,600?
No,
That would be
it
the
reads like
actual, would be
whichever
the
officer.
hourly rate of the
Yeah.
officer attending court.
Okay, so do we have a limit we can put on that? I mean, do we have a range of what that would cost?
We can put a cap on, how much we would spend, because we don't have any kind of data as far as an average of how much that would be. She could put a limit on
I'd like
like
to see
$5,000,
something.
then after that, we can reduce the hours that way, that's what we discussed.
I mean, it would
The
be
agreement's
determined by-
blank, I don't
Right.
like approving a blank line.
Right, no, the agreement
But
that I
tell
have.
everybody behave then.
Yeah, the agreement that I have is not blank, those blanks have been filled in. The blanks have been filled in, the vehicle lease is 15,000,
I have that.
and the number was $163,600.
I
Right.
have that.
Okay, and, the monthly installment was $13,633.34.
Right,
And I think those were the only ones.
right, the only thing.
No, there's one other blank here, so there's no agreement in the next year, I'm just asking. there's
Oh,
not
that's
like
5%.
5%
Yes.
that's in there?
Yes,
Okay.
that's 5%.
And,
That was the same as the last agreement.
So your packets were made up on Friday, the blanks were filled in today.
okay,
You
yes.
should also have this page with a red star on it, that's what Joan referred to.
Right, that's paragraph 6B that has been changed for the court time issue.
So one other question, Joan, so the pension contributions, and this I'm just asking just so I know, if the Commonwealth contribution changes and it's less, we're supposed to equal the amount Fleetwood contributes into that. Do we have any kind of cap on, I mean, that unknown expense, if there's a pension contribution, issue?
I'm not aware of a cap on it.
Can we put something like that in there, or is that just, do we have any, is there any range? Do we have
Again,
range
there's-
an unlimited amount if there's something that changes?
Again, I mean, there's no range, we look at are you looking at paragraph 12, I assume?
Let me see here. Probably it was
Okay.
20.
Yeah, Topton acknowledges the continuation of the Commonwealth's contribution or varying
Yeah.
factors that make it impossible for Fleetwood's assessment to be completely accurate. In the event that there's a material change in the Commonwealth's contribution or cost incurred by Fleetwood annually for contribution, Fleetwood is entitled to contribution by Topton equal to the increase in costs incurred by Fleetwood annually for one full-time police officer. So, I mean, that's the formula. Topton shall be responsible to pay for and reimburse Fleetwood for any costs related to pension benefits for one full-time police officer upon termination of this agreement. Such payments by Topton shall be determined by an actuarial study to determine pension legacy costs to Fleetwood as such costs relate to full-time officers. So that is the formula.
Do we know what that amount actually for, like, what is a one police officer, what is his pension contribution?
I don't know that number.
And this can vary between.
Yeah.
It'd just be good to know what
Seasoned
we're
officer,
talking about, these are kind of like
person.
ambiguously put together. And one other legal question, actually. So we have police officers that are spending time in court to attend on our behalf because of incidents that happened here. Is that cost passed on to the defendant in the case? For our cost for this officer to sit there?
They, you're talking about, in the event restitution is ordered, usually restitution is to the victim. It is not generally, in a case where it is a crime against a particular victim, that's not generally assessed as cost. Now, with some incidents, for example, code enforcement, borough's costs are passed along, but that's not this, because police aren't involved in code enforcement, but generally those costs are not reimbursable that I'm aware of. You haven't seen it either.
I've never heard of that.
So we can recoup some of our costs.
That would be under the Pennsylvania, that's under the Pennsylvania Crimes Code, that's not a.
Just wanted to ask that, all right, thank you.
No, I agree with you, I wish it were the case.
I don't know.
That's where we are now, right?
Yeah, exactly,
Okay.
we're just changing one line. Go ahead, you know what?
No, it's,
The updated version.
yes.
To that we are-
To authorize the execution of Fleetwood Police's services. It was overlooked.
Okay. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? There you go, let's do a quick meeting.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to authorize to advertise the 2023 council meetings.
I'll second that.
Was there a second?
Yeah, me.
We have to go backward.
Why?
We have to adopt the resolution for the police services agreement.
I think we did
did
it,
that.
yeah.
Is it part, okay.
Yeah, it's part of the motion.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second on the table for the monthly meetings for 2023. All those in favor? Anyone opposed?
Okay, and Stacy, you're going to advertise that, or should I?
Nope, got it.
Okay.
Got it right here. Thank you. So in front of you, you have 4 letters, 2 of which involve the borough audit and 2 of which involve the tax collector's audit, all for fiscal year 2022. These are from RKO. Normally, we get them a little bit sooner, but they're in front of you for your discussion, and then you have to accept and direct for their signature.
Just saying that this is not the audit, right?
No, this is for them to do the work in 2023 for the financials for 2022.
and now's the time if you need to think about, if you wanna
Yeah,
start
we'll have
thinking
to
about,
keep it.
and it's
Keep
few and
it.
far
You do not
between.
like these guys, right?
It's few and far between, right, but,
I don't mean personally, but you're
Right.
dealing with
But we
them.
don't have
but
much
it's
of an
slim,
option.
it's slim pickings, so.
For what they do.
I just wanted to make sure, I don't have to deal with them very much, you know, they come in and they do a presentation for us, if they're giving
Right.
me a pain, but.
They're getting later and later with everything.
Yes.
So but this is us hiring them again
No, well, yeah, to do
for next
this
year?
year,
Yeah.
yeah.
Which they have to do all of their work by the end of March
Okay.
for our audit and then later for the tax collector's audit. So switching is an option, it would not be for this time period, for the financials for 2022.
That's something that has to be.
Yeah, so we just need to approve these.
Yes.
Right.
Okay, so then I make a motion to accept the auditor's engagement letters.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Do you have anything else, Stacy? Committee reports, public relations and special events, and the Topton Committee annual report is under there.
Yeah, the only thing I have, I know some people received 2 subscription drive letters at the same residence, they were aware of that. Not everyone got 2, some did. That was vendor error, they weren't charged for the additional cent. And the subscription drive does continue. So I have for that.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Environmental and quality of life.
Larry, is working hard to schedule, to get the preservation board to meet. Right now, we have January 9th, I believe is the date we are finally going to meet. So, fingers crossed, there's not snow and ice that keeps everybody away.
Anything else?
And that is the same meeting night as Borough Council.
Policy status of the residential water and sewer policy.
So I sent this out to everyone, this is 9 pages, I think. We have here, and I had some questions, and no one came back to me on those. Joan, I did get your
You got my
email
comments, okay.
late last night with your
Okay.
comments, so
Okay,
we'll
good.
make some changes, but, verbiage as you suggested. So I had 3 questions here. So the final water and sewer certification. If it's short notice, our guys have to run out there on short notice, within 48 hours. Do we wanna make that a prepaid fee as we currently do? Because it's short notice, I guess I'm thinking if there's a closing or something changes with ownership and something wasn't called in to get a final reading, do we want to have that be an unpaid fee because of the short notice and charge more? Or have it be prepaid even though it's short notice, which is what we're currently doing?
Correct, $20 if it's short notice.
$20, so it's a little bit more.
$5 if it's more than 48 hours notice.
Right.
Currently in the schedule of fees.
And that's another thing, I wanna talk about the schedule of fees, or what we think we wanna do on that. So, currently we charge $15 for a meter reading, closeout meter. And then, if it's late, it's $20, maybe we could bump that to $25. That would be unreasonable. So the question for that is, do we want to have that paid immediately, or do we want this to be after that is read?
What short notice?
48 hours, within 48 hours.
Is it a prepaid now?
Yes. It is. But they might call 2-3 weeks, a month ahead of time, you know, the anticipated close date for a property that's transferring, and the guys have to go out and read it. They have time to put it in their schedule. If it's 48 hours, it's short notice, we've gotta run out there.
Right, but I'm saying, don't they prepay now?
They do. Do you wanna continue to make that be prepaid? Even on short notice? Cause normally they send the check, how do they normally pay, do they do it?
They can always send a copy of the check that's been cut at their office, the settlement company's office.
Okay, then you can cash.
We don't have to have it physically in hand.
Okay,
They can show proof of payment
okay.
to be expected.
And they can still get payment to you, you can read it 48 hours.
We just need proof of payment.
Without physically having to come in here and pay.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Well, I would say we should keep it as prepaid. It's one less thing. The other question was, we wanna hold a customer liable for the post office's delivery fee. And I guess I'm thinking about if there's a bill, you pay your water bill, and it gets to us the day after it was due because of possibly the post
Go by
office.
postmark.
Right, you should go back.
So you go by postmark?
I don't trust the post office.
So that's what I'm saying, because it's a postmark, I think, are we currently, Stacy, do we currently, if it doesn't get here in time, regardless of postmark, it's late.
Correct.
So really with the mercy.
We do not observe
The
postmark.
thing is, though, is nobody else does either. I mean, if you're paying a credit card, they don't say, well, yeah, you mailed it the day before it was due, but we didn't get it. You know what I mean? You're getting charged. So, you know, and everything else that you pay on the payroll to make sure that it gets to the place on time. Now granted, sometimes things go wonky and it's 3 weeks. So it gets there, which is not reasonable, but most will tell you, this says 3 to 5 days, most will tell you now 10 days. You should mail it 10 days in advance to guarantee that they'll get there on time.
So do we even
There is a
get
Dropbox, so.
bills out with 10 days? I guess we do have 10 days.
Yeah, I guess if they're living in Topton, there's no.
Well, I was
They get
thinking of
30.
of rental things, I know.
From when it's mailed.
Till it's due.
Till it's due.
Yes.
Okay, so.
I mean, I don't think we should do it by mail day, because everybody lives within 2 miles of this building, so there's really no excuse.
Well, but you mail it, it goes to Harrisburg, and then, comes
Yeah,
back here.
but you could
Yeah, I
just
guess why would
easily
you,
drop
why
it
would
in
you
the
mail
mail.
it to 100 feet away?
Well, some people.
You choose to do it that way, you choose to take the risk that it gets
Yeah.
lost in the mail, you can just walk it over here.
All right, that's fine, I'm just asking a question.
No, I understand.
The box is open 24/7, so.
So we're going to, not look at the postmark, and just not here on time. Now, what if it's in the box? Like someone puts it in the box and we come the next morning, and they did put it in during that day, we're gonna give them that?
You check that, the box is checked though, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, so if things come that next morning because they were put in during it, they were going by date, now we're looking at midnight.
Business hours,
Well,
sorry,
if
but
people
people should
work-
realize someone's not here. They're
Yeah,
not
but-
here at 10 o'clock at night, we don't have second shift.
Well, no, we don't, but if
That's
someone
the-
drops it in there because they work second shift and they got their bill in before midnight and they dropped it, I'm just asking the question.
Well, then if they were in that dire straits and they wanna be conscientious, then maybe they could call the office and leave a message and say, hey, I had some difficulty for whatever reason, and sorry, it was in there, can you give me a break this time, or whatever.
Well, I'm sure they would, I mean, I'm
Well-
just saying as a matter of policy, what do we want, I mean, what do we wanna do there?
I close the business hours that day.
True, though, it's true.
It says right in here, the borough has normal office hours Monday through Friday to receive payments.
May I say something?
Sure.
So right now what we do is I check it in at 8 a.m. when I get here. So say bills are due Sunday night. I check it 8 a.m. when I get here. If it's in that box, you're on time. But if you come in at 8:01, 8:05, 8:10 on Monday, you're late. So and then when that is done, we,
Midnight, you mean? Or-
No.
8 a.m. in the morning when I get here. So if you drop it in the box over the weekend, overnight, as long as it's here by the time I check it at 8 a.m., you're on time.
That's what I'm talking
So that
about.
So
covers
that's basically what you're saying is
Yes.
what we already do.
Okay, well, that's what I
So-
wanted to know, so it would be, as long as, I don't want someone putting it in there and then we're being that much of a stickler if I.
We are not.
No.
Okay, all right, that's all, just for that. And then this last question, We have some customers who are being charged a late fee, but but are only sending the regular payment without the late fee. And so this happened, this may happen because they missed the deadline, or the mail did not get the payment to us in time, or we received the payment before we mailed the late billing, or they're trying to just send their payment and they're hoping we won't notice that it was late, and we're not gonna accept, because they're sending a payment, that they aren't gonna get charged the late fee. So, how do we wanna handle that? This was a question from Trinda.
Yeah, there's currently 34 that are sitting there with either finance or late fees on them. 34 accounts.
So they have paid their bill, but they still owe the late fee. So the late fee's owed to us, but one of the things that was questioned was, should we continue to bill them an ongoing late fee on top of their late fee that wasn't paid? Even, I think that's getting kind of crazy.
I don't think you compound it, but I think you keep including what they haven't paid.
And so here,
Right.
what they haven't paid, they should pay, because it's a late fee, they should have paid. But now, is that something that they can pay moving forward in the next billing cycle? Or if they don't pay it?
Well, I mean, I guess if they didn't send in the late fee, I would put the late fee to the next bill as well.
Right.
And if they pay at that time, then it's paid.
So
If
they
they
just
don't,
pay
then
that-
it just stays on your bill
Right,
until.
that's what I wanted to say.
If you're late twice, you're gonna have two of them on there, you know, that.
Right, okay, so that's why I wanted to ask if you thought that they need to accrue more of a.
No, I don't think you
Okay.
were late that month, you never paid us for being late that month.
Let me see here, one other thing, did you have any questions about, there's a couple things here highlighted, it's a long policy. It's already been addressed. Meter replacement fee, so that line, I have it there, it's based on the prices we're charged. Is there any kind of range to do a meter replacement?
It's market rate, I guess it's pretty there, market rate.
Okay. And then, final reading certification, that's a 15, you guys still okay with that? And then short notice would be the 20.
Don't you want those?
So it's
fees
5
on
and
the
20
fee?
right now.
No, the standard fee is 15 to.
No, it's
You charge $5 to a meter reading?
yeah, to final read.
Is it
Prior
$5?
to settlement of a house or movement of a tenant. $5, that's it.
You think that's enough?
Probably not.
I think
No.
10, I think 10, it should be 10.
Shouldn't those be in your fee
Yeah, and we
versus-
have
That's
the
why I'm
draft
asking
over
it
to.
now, because I know you're gonna
versus
come out with
this?
that.
Cause then you have to do this to change.
Well, these fees aren't gonna be included in this policy, it's gonna be on the fee schedule, I just wanted to go over
Yeah,
it
you'll
while
just
we're talking
refer it.
about the policy.
Going back to your meter replacement fee, you mean if the resident damaged it, okay, just want to clarify that.
If
Or if the resident
negligent,
requests
let it freeze.
And then a re-read fee, do we wanna do that, and you've already paid us the, whatever we charge, $5, $10, and then they didn't close on time, we gotta go out and reread
I
it.
just charged them the same thing.
Same thing, okay.
It's the same word.
I just have the discretion of the borough on that, because it could be a pain, yes.
Well, when they schedule a settlement and then they don't tell us, and
That's what I'm
then.
saying, that happens.
I agree with Ethan.
All right.
Darn realtors.
So the fee that you're charging now is 5, do we want up to 10, and then just charge this as a 10, level 10?
I have it drafted on the schedule of fees already, it's with the engineer for their kinds of fees and our schedule of fees.
So I'll just put same.
I'll just make sure it matches.
Okay. What was the short notice fee, it was 15?
20.
I have a question about the late, when people are late on their bill. We're currently charging them 5% of the balance of their bill, and we're charging them a $25 late fee. Should we be charging that much of a late fee? $25. I get it if they, with a stamp paper saying 48-hour notice are getting canceled. or the water's getting turned off because they're late enough to get a 48-hour notice. Just questioning if that's too excessive to have a $25 fee plus the fee on the balance, 5% on the balance of your bill.
I think part of it is that they're meant to be something you don't want to incur, you know, we don't want to bring it
Right,
down too
because
low, where
we
I'm
were
like,
having-
it's only $10, just
Yeah, we
do
were
what you
having
can,
like
you know?
25% that were not paying their bills on a monthly basis. I mean, right now, we have 59 unpaid accounts.
And it's a reoccurring quarterly bill that,
Yeah, and it takes,
unless you just recently moved here, I get it, but otherwise, should know it's coming. Sorry to say,
it
but-
takes a lot of manpower to be doing all these second notices and then be doing all the tags and then to go
Paper,
out and
postage.
Well, the
post
tags I
and-
get, the tags, when you have to tag somebody, now you're running out there, you're putting the paper and you're taking their time up and you wanna charge $25. I guess I'm thinking about the person who misses the date for whatever reason. I'm just trying to give people a benefit of the doubt.
Well, see, that was the problem though, because we were having some months more than 100 people that were not paying their bill. And so it was taking Trinda an enormous amount of time to determine what bills weren't paid, to issue the second notices, to get them all folded and mailed and sent, and I mean, it would take her an entire day at least.
Because it was just
Just
like
to
a
do that.
smack, just a
Just
smack
because,
of the hands.
and because there was no penalty other than a tiny little finance charge that was like $2, people were just doing it every month. And it was to the point where at one, I think it was last quarter, where over 30% did not pay their bill in the 30-day period.
So for 15 years, or I don't know what happened before me, it's not in our system. We were giving them the benefit of the doubt and not charging what was passed in an ordinance by council.
Can we do a graduated penalty, like if you're a habitual late payer?
Then someone has to keep
In
track
all
of
honesty,
it.
I know things happen
Our
from time
county
to time,
can't do
but.
that?
And I don't think that's illegal.
This, I believe, is only the first bill, or maybe in the second bill, that $25 is in place.
It just seems like
The
you just
purpose
have
being
about,
to
you know, it's
stop.
one thing if you have a charge card that you electively put a balance on, you're not paying it, you're getting whacked by what a charge company does, but your house, it's a lienable service. I guess I just feel because you're forced to have.
Outside of the odd circumstance, I think it's more irresponsibility and lack of care that people don't pay their bills. So if anything, I'd say it should be higher and let them say, you know, I'm not taking that $50 hit, so I'm gonna come in and pay it on time. You know, I don't think it's good.
We started doing just because, and just recently, just because of the volume of people that were not paying on time.
And you're seeing now a reduction of that?
We don't
Not
know
so
yet.
far, this is the first one, I
Just
believe
seems
this is
kind
the
of
first
steep.
cycle.
I mean, I don't know, I don't think.
Yeah, that's my point, is the people who are being responsible and paying their bills.
Right.
And I understand that, you know,
I'm
people
thinking
can
of
fall
the
on
little
hard times
lady
and
who
stuff.
didn't get the bill in time, and she never saw it, and now she's getting a late fee, and she's getting whacked with it, and she never got the bill in the mail, and never thought about it.
Well, I mean,
No,
they
I'm just saying.
have the authority to waive it for whatever reason they decide.
Okay.
Cause they know who are the habituals and who are not. But, like I said, it was over 30% were not paying their bill on time.
Wow.
That is a huge amount of time the office is spending sending out second requests.
Thank you, I didn't know. it was
That's
that bad.
why
I
we
didn't know it
did
was
that.
bad.
Mhm.
Okay, I just wanted to put that.
And what, after 90 days, they cut off your phone, after 90 days, they cut off your cable, this is like a 90-day bill kind of thing too, so.
I'd be curious to know if the $25 fee would be enough to get people to change their ways over a couple cycles.
Yeah.
Do we really need the 5% also?
It remains to be seen, because this is the first cycle that has the $25 charge on it. Because I believe we changed it right after the last quarterly billing.
I don't think that the 5% would be considered excessive. I've seen more than that.
And it really was just because the numbers got out of control.
And so we're still gonna do the 5% on the balance plus the 25 late fee.
Yeah, but.
So it's more like a $30-some dollar.
I mean, it's certainly something we can revisit after we've gone through a couple billing cycles to see if those numbers come down. It's just too early to know at this point.
Okay, all right, leave that.
But if they do come down and you take it off, is it?
It's
it's
gonna go right back up.
Yeah.
But I mean, we'll know if it's working or not.
All right, so any other questions? Does anybody have time? This is very large policy.
I mean, I've read through it as we've been developing it, you know, and keeping an eye on what we're changing and, so.
All right, cause I'm just basically getting the meat of this. This is gonna get handed off to the office to, I want it to be, I mean, I just wanna make sure that the main details are okay. Thank you for your time. That concludes my part here.
Okay, I remind this, the tree lighting review, that has come to be a really nice, event. I remember a few years ago when people didn't really come there. Actually, I remember when Trinda first started, I remember Travis coming and there was only a couple people there. And as a matter of fact, that is why the Santa set is still out there, because people have been coming and taking pictures, at the tree on their own without Santa.
So let that up, yeah.
The other thing I have regarding that, tree lighting was the last thing that has been on the schedule of special events. And I've come to the conclusion that there is no reason for 2 people to be on the special events committee. So Monica is going to be a second person on the quality of life, because things need to be documented in the office, because as they are now, there's no log of it in the office, so nothing can be, no fines can be issued, and there are no penalties can be issued. She's gonna help, and with the winter coming and snow, etc., she's going to be helping Carol, so anything that you get will have to be given to Monica, and Monica is going to make sure everything is logged into a log.
I need to be trained from.
Yep.
Yep.
Because there's gonna be because the office has to have notification of anything that is sent out, so you guys are gonna work on how it's going to run smoothly, because as of now, there's no log for anybody to look back on as to what has been sent out.
Maybe we can go by the log you created in January, February when you helped out.
There is a spreadsheet already in the system. Great.
Oh, it's on the computer.
Mm-hmm.
Not in the
Everything's
folder.
No, it's everything's in the system. We have, everything's electronic, and that's the way it has to, so they can look everything up. And also, since Elaine has such great ideas for special events, she is going to take over the special events committee, so she can take on all those, so she can put into fruition all those ideas that you had, and I'm gonna take on personnel. So
We're not
we
gonna
can do
have too
that.
many special events.
Then that's gonna be up to you to handle the special events, and then I'll take over personnel. And the other thing under me is the closing office to the public during national holidays, which is referring to national holidays that are not on on our calendar, on the borough calendar, as to them having off, correct?
So there are national holidays, we're not closed. And we don't have off, it's not an observed holiday by staff. It would be helpful when, it's President's Day and we're still open, and other people aren't open, we can't go to the bank or anything like that. It would be helpful to just close to the public and do work on those major holidays that we don't receive, we're still here working to get extra work done.
Do we do anything in regard to that?
We just have to say okay, or.
Right, that, I mean, just.
Emotion.
So moved then.
We need a list of those holidays.
The national ones.
National ones where we are not.
Where we are not open to the public.
Yeah. We have a list of holidays.
Right, that's only holidays, that doesn't include what.
Right.
You can list them in your motion, the ones that you choose for us to.
Same ones the bank is closed. All those ones.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
When there's no postal
I
delivery.
think on that stuff.
When there's no
I
postal
work
delivery.
some of those days,
It is
so
10
I don't know
minutes
what's
to
normal.
10 o'clock, and we are nitpicking which days and which, the national holidays, that's the ones you guys want on. So moved.
Yeah, but you can't do that. Do you realize how people, some say this is and some say it's not?
Well, maybe we can put it in the January.
What is,
agenda.
what's not, what we
Why don't we put it in the
A
January?
holiday.
agenda?
Get a list together.
Yeah.
The United States government recognizes national holidays. Those
What? Okay, so we're just letting that go?
President's Day, I don't need to point you out, but do you have the days that you're talking about?
No, I
Okay,
didn't.
I'm
Okay,
asking a question.
Include it in the January agenda, and then you'll.
We have nothing until then, we have nothing before then.
Right.
Ethan.
I don't have anything tonight.
Good luck to you. Neither do I.
So it's me, okay, I already said how many unpaid accounts and all that stuff for the water. The online account balances as of 12/12, general account $347,542.44, water account $73,028.86, sewer account $9,631.08, reed bed sewer $5,001.92, pool account $232.03, payroll account $2,852.40, recreation park project $345,710.86, liquid fuels $274,197.14, fire fund $51,224.75, and ambulance fund $1,625.63. Did everyone get to look over the list of bills and transfers? Anybody have any questions?
No.
Can I have a motion to approve paying the bills? Elaine and Ethan seconded? Oh, Monica, okay.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Alright, that's it for that. A quick question before he starts, there was a 2023 Topton Borough Animal Control Services Agreement in the packet. Was that something you were supposed to do?
Only if we pass the budget.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure we didn't miss something.
I'll go quick. Most of the items are grant related, funding related, so of course we're waiting for news on those. On the water and sewer, the one that's in work still is the NPDS for the wastewater plant. We're on track to be able to meet with Alex in the next couple of weeks and have that in January, which will be early. And the good news is that DEP's moving so slow that they may not review it for a long time. And then TASA, as you've seen, they were doing work. They were hoping to do more. Unfortunately, at this point in time, we've got a cold spell, which is not allowing them to get concrete and place it. They can't get it, and then it's too cold to place it. So they're probably going to be buttoning up, based on the news we heard after the meeting. They'll be buttoning up the project to make it safe, using stone, compacted stone, and carrying through until we get warmer weather, and then we can finish that out. For that area out there in the trail, they should be able to start doing the bridge work foundations in January. So that'll be the next thing you'll see them moving on. I think that's the short of it. People can read the details.
Okay.
Michelle?
Hometown Heroes update, there's 10 that are ordered that we're waiting on, and there are 10 that we're waiting for 2 more checks. And then I will order the next 10. Troy left, but is everybody okay giving Troy and Randy to be able to put the banners wherever it is they can put them without me having to tell everybody where exactly they're going?
Yes.
Everybody, so, okay.
I have one question, Michelle. Do we have an update on the park bathroom? Remember we limited the hours and we were locking it early? Did that resolve the problem?
It gets winterized, it gets closed, period.
But, yeah, I understand, but while it was, I never heard back, did we start getting the mechanism, like shortening the hours?
I thought.
Kathy Hassler found that it was an improvement.
Yeah, they found other ways to vandalize.
That's what I meant. So, of course.
They go down from Michelle's house.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Hey, we're unanimous on something.
talk to you. Stop.
Yeah.
Give a minute, I'd like to talk to you too. Let me just talk to you.
No, it's good.
First, I want to thank
The
you.
recording's still on?
Because they have, they have the tree lighting, they have the big display, and the vestibule, so they have paper
Mine's
boards
been
and
now